All right, I think we live. Good day to everyone. See, we already got the real ones already in the chat. Shout out. This life hurts. I hear you for your name title, Sean. As always, my boy Shangal, Amon's disciple. Good day to everyone. We're here to get into some different media. Following the last stream with JC, I think that was pretty fitting. How he's created his own form of media with writing a book. Um, it's great, but we're gonna get into some mainstream shit that most of us have likely already seen to some degree. And so I want to say that it's gonna be, how can I say, for how this is gonna go. Uh, I'm gonna send a link in the chat for anyone that would want to come, depending on the certain movie or show that we're going to talk about, because um I have my certain notes and things like that that I can say, but depending on the show, I know someone can have some type of angle and perspective on things that other people can really appreciate. And so I definitely will look to read the comments, but I'm going to send in the chat here in a moment the link, so that depending on the certain point when we're going over a certain movie, show, or whatever, if anyone wants to join and go more into their own kind of angle on a certain show, this, that, the fourth, or certain insight that they gained, they can, come on board, because you can only say so much on a comment in a, stream like this. So I'm gonna post that in the chat for anyone at any point that would want to do that. You can go right ahead and yeah. So give me just a moment. We're gonna start up. And I wanted to initially start with the structure, because the thing is, with these different forms of media that we're going to get into, most of it's going to be different movies. There's a structure, and so that needs to be, understood before we really get into anything. I mentioned a bit from the past stream with, we've gone to English class or some shit. You read and known about the bit of a ride that gets with the storytelling. You have the beginning, then you have the climax and resolution. Essentially, you have the bit of a spike with how the storytelling goes, and that spike is telling us that there's a journey that the main character is going through. But put it simply, I said it from before the last stream. There's an issue. That's the only reason why we're even watching some type of movie, TV show, whatever. There's a problem, right? And so the main character is having to come to terms with facing this problem. And so from there, they have to face the problem, and then from there, usually they come up happy. So these movies and whatnot, they always typically have a happy ending. But that's the Gnosis, though. You got to peep in the mythos, is you got to identify the flawed essence that they're showcasing to you in the reality. And so that's something we should already kind of know, but I just wanted to emphasize that's in part with this Gnostic premise that you see really with any form of media. We're going to go through ones that are clear as day, but that's what it is that there's an initial problem that is clear as day. And with that, it ties hand in hand with, Gnosticism and antinatalism, the eradication of this reality and any such thing thereof. It starts with that, identifying the issue. We're all going through it to some degree. And then from there, you're having to face it. That's why you're having to identify it. You have an association with the problem, set of problems, that we're going through. And so I just wanted to mention that. And, I mentioned it before with the last stream with JC. At bottom is this creation element that is the main issue in many respects. Niggas are doing too much is the problem. And you're going to notice, depending on a certain movie that we're going to get to, the show, it's this creative force and element that is the issue for these such said problems many times than not. Is going back to some creative force that's then creating problems. Okay. And then from there, we have some type of main characters, set of different characters that are having to face it. And then from there, we see where it goes. And so I just wanted to lay out that structure for the Gnostic element, not Gnosis and everything. It's just, again, identifying. You can even say too, again, I said the word flawed, but it's fabricated. A lot of times, like how, different creators, the archons, the demiurge type of principles, elements of things, they're trying to create something from something else. And so it's building a copy, making a fabrication, something that's demented and fragmented. And so, yeah, I just wanted to mention that to start. And so we're going to initially look to talk about the first movie that I had. I don't know if any one of you guys watched any of these different movies. I posted posts from before. So if you guys ever, have anything to say or whatnot, for sure. But we're going to get into THX 1138. I'm going to share my screen here in a moment, just so that there's some kind of pictures and whatnot we can see and whatnot. But that was the first movie I want to get into. It's going to lay out the certain structure of realities that you can say, because with these different movies that we're gonna get into, I just wanted to first get into the movies that set the kind of picture, the structure of of course the movie, but it correlates to our everyday life. And so THX, if anyone has seen it, you should know already what I'm talking about with the setting that they take place in the movie. I'm going to share my screen here in a moment so that we can see some different, just pictures while I'm describing some different stuff. So let me do that here. THX, where is that screen? All right. So let me look to probably make that bigger like that. That's cool. All right. So let me go to some different images there. So it was a good movie. Getting into this THX 1138, it's hella sci-fi for how it is orchestrated and everything. And it's a great movie to start with because for what I can say, again, it really sets out the layout for the archonic force that we see permeate in this reality. And of course, they're correlating it in that movie. So it's with the term archons, a lot of this energy that we're going to be talking about when it comes to peeping the mythos is this overarching, you can say in this case with us humans, we know we have a state that's overarching in our reality. And from there, they have govern laws, restrictions, rules, forbidden things that we're not supposed to do, things that they want us to be enclosed within, right? And so the Gnosis is peeping that and knowing the limitations that's being imposed upon you. And it's clear as day for any one of you that's been ever watched this movie, like any emotional bond is like forbidden. Like they do not want anybody in the show or movie to like have any intimacy, again, any emotional ties to anyone. Procreation in this movie is heavily restricted. I don't even think they represent any procreation element outside of one particular for the main character that was looking to get a little freaky. But like everything is just so, again, fixed and caged in. You don't have any say really for any individuality in the movie. And again, for how you can tie that in with our reality, already being in a human body, you're caged in. Okay, just to correlate that clearly. We think that's not a big deal. Well, that's a big deal. The human body's a limitation, right? And so with these terms like demiurge and archons, we like to think that it's more grandiose than what it is, and it is in many respects, but it can be as simple as just being in a human body. Okay. um, let alone the society structure. Men nowadays, they know, it's not the same in terms of the love and intimacy than what it was before. And this movie just really makes it really hardcore in the sense that like it's they literally put the man on pills. Initially, there's a I had a certain note. Let me see if I can pull it up where they were like, "Yo, all right, nigga, we gotta give this guy pills. Like this guy is he's not about it. We got to give him pills because right now he's kind of paving off the course that we want him to be in." And so I just thought that was fascinating watching this initial movie for THX. Just getting into the layout of how, again, there's an archonic force, heavy restriction that's being placed onto their society. And we see that as clear as day. I mean, everything with the current structure, with the feudalism that we're in, is very similar with how they see it there. It's a prison, just to be frank. Again, the body's already a prison. And again, they're just kind of forcing it even more in your mind with watching this movie. They're showing you not just, of course, the body, but the setting environment that they're in. It's even worse because, like, at least with us, there's some level of freedom. People want to say that's why here in America, the West, we have more rights and freedoms and some shit. But it's even worse in this movie. The authority figures, they like how they say here, visit the future where love is the ultimate crime. I mean, like, what are we talking about, man? What are we talking about? Where love is the ultimate crime? You know what I mean? And I mentioned from a prior video with the to disagree with antinatalism means you don't really understand. Any form of love in this reality, physical form of love, is already very fabricated. Like I was mentioning before with the creation element, creating love, making love. The certain esoteric part with that is that you don't really want to, again, with the creating thing, you don't want to create love in this reality because you know the detriments that you're going to impose, because we know with love making, we know what happens with that. So in a sense, it's very antinatalist, this structure of the ruling force in the movie. They are very antinatalist in a sense that they're restricting a lot of people's again access to reproduction, but they're not necessarily wiping out existence. It's like, okay, you're making it very hard for people to make love. Okay, that's cool, but why are we still having the structure of a reality? So I thought that was kind of weird how, because typically for these different archonic, governmental forces, they want to encourage procreation. We see that in today's society. They're banning abortion and this, that, the fourth. But here in this movie, they're not wanting really anyone to do it. It's, again, forbidden any sexual activity. So it's like, what the fuck? And all the chemicals, they have so many different pills that they're wanting to put people and sedated on. I think it's very similar to this society with today. We're always medicated. Everyone nowadays is apathetic, very docile, and so that's what they're also correlating with this movie. Everyone in the movie, let me see if I can pull up the pills. Like they have all these different medications that they put them on, so they kind of have some of the iconography here where, I mean, it's so in it where, again, they're needing to be sedated, and it's like, well, why is it that they can't just be already within their current version of themselves, that they need to have these pills and everything and whatnot? Again, similar with our reality, the very fact that we even have to eat, honestly, because I'm from the sense that this society and everything that we're brought up in is so bad that it comes to this point where we need these processed foods and everything with how we're currently living. But it doesn't have to be this fucking bad that you have to eat 3 times a day and this, that, the fourth. And so it's as bad as to this point with the movie. Let's see, it's not sharing that screen. Let me just go back here. Just wanted to highlight the pills and just look at the different the boxes of the structure of the food and all the different pills that they have to consume. Very, very similar. I mean, I work in the medical field, so I see how dependent people are when it comes to, again, just the supplementation when it comes to pills and different medications. And in this case, it's to numb the emotions, numb any type of potential activity when it comes to emotional binding with anyone else that anyone can do in the movie. So I thought that was interesting, just how, again, with the control element, that's with the Gnosis, that's clear as day. They have different police units, surveillance operators that are checking on them throughout the entire movie. So it's crazy how they do that. But again, it's very similar to our reality where, in terms of these enforcers, we see that clearly, and they also have it where there's not much identity. So I think that's similar with today, where in this movie they have different like numerical codes. They don't really have a name, and so I always say personally, I call myself Uno. I know Shanghai. He has, you should have a different name for yourself, because it's like, hold up, you didn't even call, get your name currently. Did you give that to yourself? No, that was placed for you by your mother and father. And I have respect for that, but it's like, you should have your own name, give yourself your own identity. Why is it that you're carrying something that really isn't something that's yours, right? And so, again, with the movie, they have different barcodes. I'm wondering if I can show that, where they, don't have an actual name, like, look, I don't know if that's not necessarily in the movie directly, but just hinting at the fact that, again, it's just a loss of identity. And we know that with the feature, that they're trying to make things so even more mundane, really. They're trying to make it more, how can I say, with the singularity of things, it's like, oh, again, with your individuality, that doesn't really matter. And so it's just interesting how they don't really have many names. And so it's just, when it comes to the origin of things, you're getting more loss with when it, gets away from your own originality. And that's a lot of what, with the Gnostic premise, with where you currently are at, like, you can't really be yourself, And so this was a great movie, just kind of showcasing how the main character, if I can show him, I'm not wearing my kufi to be like the main character, but they're all bald and shit in the movie, and he's a one particular Gnostic character. He's a kind of, you can say, spiritual warrior. He's like, yo, like, I'm trying to get it in with. He has a one girl that he has in the movie. I forgot her name, but he's like, yo, like, I can't get it in with my girl. I can't do anything. Like, y'all are just restricting me. And that, technically, in the esoteric sense, is you should have like a inner, as myself as a male, and for anyone that's a female, spiritually speaking, you have something that's more inner in terms of this sexual union of things. And so they're representing it. I think it was this chick potentially that he was trying to get with. So yeah, this chick right here. It's forbidden. Again, any emotional binding sexual activity. They do get a little freaky in some elements, different scenes, but again, it's definitely heavily monitored. And at some point, they had to break out. You know what I mean? And so that's facing the problem. You know what I mean? In this case, with how the system and the jurisdiction they're trying to impose, it kind of ends with the initial. At the end, he's trying to escape into the lights, like they say, with the false light. But they're trying to showcase that, again, you have to get the fuck out of here, that this is a trap, it's a prison, and from there you have to escape. That's the ascent, that they're trying to correlate with the conventional way of Gnosticism. So I wanted to mention this movie first. I thought it was a great movie. Again, very interesting though, with how the Archonic force, they were heavily, in many respects, against reproduction, but it was very controlled. So again, it wasn't, of course, similar all the way to antinatalism, but they understood that, this whole reproductive force is an issue, because it goes into the freedom aspect. When people do procreate, when you procreate, at least intentionally, it can come out with, it's a form of magic. I mean, think about it. Think about the first human beings that procreated. you got to be like, what the fuck? Like that's like a crazy ass thing to like witness and be a part of. Like, how the fuck did this pop out? This, that, the fourth. So if you actually know what you're doing, yeah, depending on who it is, you can create a better magical abomination with the son or daughter that would be imposed existence here. So they didn't want that level of a wild card with, in this case, the movie. They didn't want that opportunity for any such, chaotic force is really what it is. They want, again, with the structure, the archonic force, there's an order with it, and they're not trying to get anything outside of that. And so the suppression of desire is a key point in the movie that we see, again, very similar to today. I think a lot of times the suppression of our desires, everything nowadays is money. So first off, anything desirable for most people is material. Everyone wants something, and you have to pay for some shit. And so already, for in terms of our reality and how it correlates to this movie, is again the suppression of desire. You can't obtain anything in this world without money. That's why I had that one work video. We know the commodity. We're all commodities, just like them. And so that suppression, but it's still there. You still want to do things. You still want whatever, even to help others, not necessarily just for yourself. But it is heavily, what's the word? Surveyed, and they don't want niggas like that to, look to fall apart from the system that they're trying to obtain and maintain. So yeah, I mean, any joy, any desire, it was honestly, they're trying to erase it. And so it's just interesting because that joy and desire, in many respects, it goes back to like the child in you. I forgot who it was with Danny on his YouTube social experiment, something like that, where everyone has that inner child, and that gets into the joy and the desire, and they're trying to eliminate that, just to be frank, or at least make it highly monitored. But this guy, his inner child, which goes to that Gnostic premise and being that warrior, his was just so raging, it was just so flaming that he was like, nah, I cannot live in this society. He just got so fucked up, and he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it anymore. And so again, with that enlightenment, the term with that in a sense is that it should like a flame. There's something raging where it's like you can't take it. Like you gotta make a way for yourself. And so that's what he did at the end. He kind of, with the chick that he has here in the one picture, they escape. And so that again just gets into the Gnostic premise of trying to escape this realm that people want to do and shit. But yeah, I thought this was a great movie with how they represent, again, the control. We know with this reality, we are in a controlled system. We know this is a prison, a flawed system, right? They're trying to have you conform to this certain structure of things. But we know here that we're not about it, to be frank. And we're not just going to try to conform when we know, again, within our inner wisdom of things, that this is some bullshit, right? And so this character, man, it's crazy. I don't even remember. So he was the THX 1138, being that it's the name of the movie. That was his barcode type of name. And again, like he just was not fucking with it. And we should all embody that. We should all embody the fact that as we're not fucking with this life and all this other shit that they're trying to impose. And so I just thought that was a great movie to initially mention. Again, I'm not sure. I'm looking at the comments now if anyone had watched it, because I sent a post initially of these different movies and stuff, trying to see if anyone was going to, because I know some of them you guys already have watched. So I want to get some feedback just to see your guys' perspective on some of these different films. And I wasn't sure if anyone was going to have watched this one, because even the name is like, what the fuck is this movie? But yeah, it was a great movie. Again, just trying to ascent out of this lack of individuality that they're in, and even this concept of an individuality. Even that, I mean, it's a level, because who are you? When you get into just a simple question, who am I? We're just a mix of different experiences, and so that's a whole other talk. But this just hits on a certain level with your current individual self in your current prison. You're not fucking with it, right? And so we should see that certain similarity. I would definitely recommend anyone to watch the movie. After hearing a little bit of this, see what I was saying and see if you can kind of peep those different elements, because thought it was interesting. Thought it was interesting. And again, you'll see with the Archonic Force how, again, with how they were trying to like prohibit procreation. I was like, wow, that's interesting, but they didn't clearly go all the way. They were still trying to maintain the structure. So they were just trying to monitor it for their own benefit. So it wasn't anti-natalist at all in that respect. They just understood the heavy consequences that comes with procreation. So they were just trying to bind it within their own control. So it was pretty fucked up, honestly. But yeah, that was THX. Pretty good movie. Pretty good movie. But I'm just trying to get like the gnosis of the movie. So in terms of like the movie itself, very artistic, very cinematic. I'll say that. But I'll for any of these things that we're going to get into, I would definitely encourage anyone to, if you haven't, definitely look to Peep. But let's move on to another movie. I definitely want to get into anything like, I want to see some comments or somebody like, oh, I watched this and then this, that, da, 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 da. So we're going to move on to the next movie for Dark City. And this is a very old movie, Dark City. I was like, damn. It's fucking, I don't know what year, I forgot what year it was created. But as you see here, this guy, he's binded to a clock. And so with the Archonic Force, one of the clear forces of control and limitation that we're imposed in is the human body. But with that, there's a time. You know, any type of experience has a timeline, right? You have a past, present, future, or just the now, but there's a measurement of what's going on. And in terms of this movie, Dark City, like the entire city, like they're saying, is dark as fuck. And there is these, how could I say, these fucking alien type niggas that are like within the underground of the city, and they control the entire reality. So again, with the Archon demiurgic creator ability, these people with their creative force, it's much more metaphysical, it's much more supernatural compared to the THX and how that was more sci-fi. I mean, this is obviously sci-fi too, but it's even more like, what the fuck? In the sense of like they're able to, like within their own head, like create new matter and shit. Like they can just make a new fucking door out of nothing, just out of their own willpower. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. And this main character here, I don't even know if I can pull up another side view so I can pull up their names. Let me see if I can pull up his name here for Dark City cast. Got his name. It was Michael John Murdoch. So this John Murdoch dude, he also has this similar ability of self-creation, you can say, just being able to willfully create whatever he wants. At first, it was very raw and untapped. He didn't really know how to control it. But as the movie progressed, he understood more of this natural ability he had in Doormat, and that he was trying to kind of further get out of himself to defeat this nigga and his clan in the Dark City. So yeah, this movie heavily Gnostic. That's how we're gonna be starting it off for a lot of these movies. Heavy Gnostic undertones. And again, it correlates so well with antinatalism, Gnosticism, because it just goes back to control. Okay, the very fact that we're of this essence. I know a lot of my terms on my videos have antinatalism, Efilism. It goes hand in hand with Gnosticism because, again, you don't want to be in any form of control. You don't want to have anybody control you, just to be frank, right? So that just comes with the fact that you're in a body, right, that you don't ask. Your parents impose life on you that you never had a say in, lack of consent, and now all these levels of harms and impositions, flawed structures that you're now having to be within, right? And so it's just a similar premise in this case. In this case with Dark City, you're living in a reality where, you know, everything's control and they can make anything they want in the fucking blink of an eye. I mean, what the fuck? Imagine being in that type of fucking reality where, you know, the elites, they can make it even worse than what it currently is. And they can further impose you in this fucking mess of a fucking system. So let me play a little trailer for this one. See if it can play here. because this was a really good movie. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm not sure. I think you guys should be able to hear it. So where no man has no past. Let me pause it real quick on there. So they kind of erase people's memories in this movie too. Similar with you can say with being born, like it's like, oh, people say you have past lives and everything, but like no one remembers for 99% of these different such said past lives. Oh, that you did this or did that. It's just contemplation and different theoretical things you can say in your own head. And so they literally are able to wipe that ability out. Again, very very gnostic and archonic with these rulers in this movie. And even with that, not just that you don't know what happened before, they can give you a false memory, and so they'll make you think that you were this person instead and give you a current persona that you're not really ever. So I think that's interesting with like even ourselves right now and how we're like our current personality off of the backbone of different environmental stuff that you don't have any say in. So it's very similar with how like you're placed to be something that you really that truly, you know what I mean? Even again, when it comes to someone working in a certain job or say living in a certain area, like there's a certain level of imposition, and so they're just making it very obvious in this movie with how again they wipe out anything from before, so you don't have any of that memory and who you technically were, and now they're making a fabrication of who you are now. So I thought that was interesting with how they're saying here, where man has no past. But yeah, let's continue. And so, just like any of these movies, I mean, there's always a love scene. Let me go back. So, just like the One Pass movie, looks like I'm not going to be able to right there. So that's the that's the chick that he was married, and he didn't know. He didn't know like that was his wife, and so it was like, imagine knowing, not knowing, who your wife is and shit. And so it's crazy, seeing how they were able to do that in the movie, wipe out people's and memories and everything, and it's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. But again, with how he initially didn't know the one talent and spirit power, whatever thing that he had, similar to these archons, he developed it more and more. And they had the ever happily ever after type of shit that most of these movies have. And he was able to, because there was a certain beach that he was connected to in the past. And when he tried to get the detective, there was a detective in one of these clips here with the gunshot. Let me see if I can go back to it. There's a detective where he was in the room with him. He was like, "Yo, why is it that the city's always dark? You ever think about that?" And he was like, "You know what? I never really thought about that." Oh, so you never? And he was like, "Well, do you know the directions to this particular city?" I think it was Shell Beach. Okay, I looked it up. And he was like, "You know what? No, I don't actually remember that." And so it gets back to again the loss of memory and shit. Um, and I think that's interesting, like how you can say in terms of trying to correlate it to us with our DNA. They say like what 90% or even more of our DNA is just untapped. You know what I mean? Junk bond DNA. So you can say that's pretty similar to how in this case, clear as day, they just don't have that memory. But with us, again, just to make a certain similarity, our DNA, like what did they say? Oh, we don't use 90% of our brain or some shit. But you get my point, where we have untapped elements too. And I think that's interesting how, there's more abilities that we have that we don't even know. And so just with how not trying to bind within the control of the system. I think the more that we don't, it further gets into that chaotic force that is within any of us. So I would definitely mention that for a bit of a peep the mythos for any one of us. That again, like that there is something untapped in every one of us, and the more that you can look to not exercise, you can just say your humanity. The more something like that has a more potential to come out because you're not further binding into what the shit that they got going on. So yeah, I thought this was a great movie. In terms of the antinatalist element, I mean, it's just obvious. Again, every movie has a problem. Okay, so this guy, he's living in some type of fucking reality where he can't fucking do anything in the sense that he's being governed um, by archonic forces that can just create new matter, create new structures, have an entire environment that's just dark every time, every day, every time of the day. I mean, who wants to have that? You know what I mean? So, I mean, this guy was just going through it. He was being, I think there's a term called gang stalking. Um, he was being followed. I mean, they were heavily with the monitor, the surveillance. Similar with the THX movie with their archonic element. He was heavily surveyed because they knew the power that he had. And so I think that's pretty interesting, again, with how, depending on who it is, um, they know for certain individuals, like they have untapped potential. And so they're holding on to making sure it doesn't happen. Right. And so, to be frank, I know I'm one of those people. I hope you know that you should be one of those people too. And they don't want streams like this and this, that, the fourth to really happen because certain points that are being mentioned, you should be able to see the light within yourself. Because whenever I watched any of these movies, I was like, yeah, I get it. In terms of that, again, inner light. I know with these terms, my boy Shane guy, he was like, yo, fuck this enlightenment. Get into, I think he said endarkment. But that's the real, again, you say the term light, but like without the whole light, it comes initially black. Okay, I hate to say, but like that's what it is. Before you get any other light, it starts there. So that's technically its own light. It's funny because I think it was said before. I mean, it makes sense how we had better vision than what we had now. Clearly, everybody wears glasses. I wear glasses. I'm wearing contacts right now because you had to force yourself, to like settle in that reality of okay, it's pitch black at night. There's a fucking wild beast that you can get eaten with and whatnot. So you kind of had to force your mind, your body, your brain had to force itself to be as acute with this environment. And so, yeah, I just thought it was interesting how in this movie, especially, it was really getting into untapped abilities and how you can develop it. And I think that's something that we can all do. That's what I mentioned before with the meditation to the annihilation. Shout out to Shangal and Mark. Whatever you can do to further your spiritual enlightenment and darkness, it's getting into away from the creator of this world, right, to the realm of the uncreate, right, the chaos, the potential thereof, and we just need to stay there. And even from there, we need to try to eradicate that, but you need to get back to that source of things and away from this demiurge type of construction that they're trying to create. So yeah, that was a Dark City, heavily Gnostic, just in the sense that, again, with the structure. And John, he's trying to get away from it, with the one, let me see if I can go. Shell Beach is the one name. That's his ascent. He's trying to ascent to Shell Beach, just like from THX. He's just trying to get the fuck out from their system. Shell Beach is where he eventually gets with his chick. He just creates it. He literally just creates a fucking door, and then he gets over to Shell Beach. And so it's interesting. It's like you have a quote unquote home that was always home for you, and they're trying to eliminate that possibility, any such memory of that home. But it's there, and it's for you to create for yourself per se. Play with these terms as you will in your subconscious. Your subconscious knows more than what I'm saying consciously. But yeah, great movie that I would definitely recommend any one of you guys to get into. Let's see here in the comments. I see my boy Tadara's son says, I just disassociate and work at it. I tell you, man, everyone's magical abilities. I mean, that's how we have these different technological devices. It's just further physical in this sense, being able to have a stream and this, that, the fourth. But yeah, completely look to tap into it. I mean, the fuck else are we doing? My boy Life Abolitionism says the sun is black. We know shit. I mean, you go into the sun glyph, look at the inner circle, right? Because that's the true, dark sun. Yeah, point. I get you on that. With the sun being black, there's that again, the inner essence of it. When you look at a sun glyph, why is it that there's that again dark middle point? That's the inner again pleroma of things you can say. But yeah, there's the black sun. The black sun information is always interesting. I feel you on that. Life Abolitionism. Shout out JC. But yeah, let me see. Is there any other comments relating to this movie? My boy Ass Cracking. Yeah, we're gonna get into Dark Tower here in a moment. I haven't watched the movie Dark Crystals. Yeah, anything with the dark. I hear you, man. It's always interesting to peep those ones. I'm gonna watch Dark Crystal. I appreciate you for that one. Because yeah, when I was going through some of the different movies, I was like, man, a lot of dark shit. Back to Life Efilism saying the Black Sun. Because yeah, that's where it starts, man. I mean, that's all it is. Again, with any of this, again, magical things is hidden, right? Hidden in plain sight, esoteric. The inner layer of things compared to the exoteric and consciousness and this physical reality that this is a facade for sure. Let me see here. Let me see if I'm able to actually share this screen more. That's cool. Let me share it like that. Yeah, it looks like no one really watched Dark City per se. I know we're gonna get into something where I know y'all niggas have definitely watched, but yeah. I just think again, this was a fascinating one because again, this one gets more into your own creative element. Let's see. Let me talk about these niggas. Oh my goodness. It doesn't get into the different tab. I don't know why it doesn't do that. Let me just stay here. But yeah, this is a nice picture of that again. Archonic force. The people work to keep the doormat. Yep, that's exactly what it is, Tadaris. Yep. They have a particular like main demiurgic ruler, and I forgot his name, but yeah, that's exactly what it is. Maybe his name is Mr. Book. I'm looking at the cast, looking right now. But this element right here that they're showcasing in this picture. Again, it's a certain, at least, symbol that your subconscious should understand of this archonic rulers. We can say it on many different planes. You can say already with just your family structure. You can say this with, obviously, the state, just talking about, your local, then state, federal, just going all up the scale. And then from there, you have spiritual ties, motherfuckers that are not physically here, that, again, are technically ruling over certain egregores and thought forms, because again, just even the concept of a state, that is a mental thought form that people have just agreed upon. And it's just a thing now where it's like, hold on, that's just people agreeing with each other. Like, this is not real in the sense that this could be broken down. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to continue to happen. It's just that people are wanting to maintain it. And so this overarching archonic force, in many respects, it can be mental, it can be spiritual, it can be physical. It's all that shit. And so thought that was interesting. And also, how everything is dark. It's interesting, that element of dark, how like you can think how like people are ignorant, and how the whole city was dark and everything, and people were ignorant to the fact that the city was even dark. Like I mentioned from before, the inspector in the show, when John was trying to talk to him, he was like, yo, did you even know that this city is always dark? It has no sun. And he was like, you know what? I never thought about that. I never actually knew that. It's like, yo, the ignorance, right? And we know that clear as day with these terms, Gnostic, antinatalism, Efilism. This world promotes that ignorance. You actually get more prosperity with being ignorant, right? And just caring about yourself and this, that, the fourth. But again, niggas like us, we know we're not about that, right? Because again, with getting into like the DNA of things, you see it. You see that you can't help but face certain facts, right? As we keep going on, like the very fact that like there's no such thing as a good, right? Just that alone, with this whole concept of suffering. Everything that we're doing is technically going back to having to resolve a certain problem. And so it's like, hold up, if you know that, like in these concepts, once you go black, you don't go back. Once you know certain things, that inner light in you is too raging. You can't then just be the same person you were before when you know certain, again, unfortunate truths to your reality, right? And so that's again with, like, you can say the DNA and the reprogramming. That's what's going on to every one of us. We've awoke to certain things that where we can't really go back anymore. Like this has now been, from like how my boy Tadera says, the knowledge and light. Um, you've been knowledgeable of certain things, but from there needs to be a wisdom with it, because knowledge is what are you going to do with it, but the wisdom is now in practice with the knowledge. And from that, it's a lot of it's abstaining, right? Not trying to give in and conform into the reality of things and create your own reality, like how our guy here John was doing in the movie. That's exactly what we should look to do. My boy John says, let's see, I can put it up on the screen. Cool. He says, the knowledge and light is good, but many people are trapped in keeping everyone trapped. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's why you just got to do what you can to promote what you are about. You know what I mean? My boy Shanghao keeps mentioning it to anybody. Don't just rely on, watching, say, one of my vids or this, that, the fourth. Like we all have a creative element, like how my boy JC has been doing for his book and many other works that he's been about and are going to do in the future. There's many things that we can look to do if we want to. And then from there, you have your own little community, people that want to, you know what I mean? And so it's like we have a creative element outside of this. And from there, we just do what we can. You know what I mean? From there, I don't give a fuck about everybody per se. I just care about what it is that I can do, and from there, try to do it as much as I can. So I hear you, man. There are people. It's like the crab in the bucket. It's funny with the whatchamacall, Shell Beach, but that analogy of the crab in the bucket. You know what I mean? You have people that are wanting to trap further people, right? And people that are trying to escape. They're like, no, 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 come back in this bucket, nigga. It's similar, like how you were mentioning there, Tadaris, that that's a lot of what's going on, and we know that's with the way of procreating, but many other ways too, with the maintaining of the world. But yeah, I was harping on this one for a moment, but again, in terms of, I'm trying to always incorporate with each movie the Gnostic one. I've been going heavy with the Gnosis because a lot of these initial ones, again, with the structure, the Gnostic premise is understanding the flawed reality, and it starts with the structure. But again, it goes hand in hand with antinatalism. Once you know the flawed reality, you don't want to put somebody in a flawed reality. You know what I mean? And so in this case, with the Dark City, it's terrible. It's very, again, with the term melancholy, sad, depressed, gloomy. I mean, who wants to have to impose such a reality to their loved ones? I mean, come on, man. That shit is just dumb. So it's just clear as day with that. I don't even have to get into more antinatalist shit. It's just from there. Why would you impose such a reality that, from the different pictures I was showing and the trailer that we saw, who would want to have to be in that type of situation? Nobody. So that's the basis to the antinatalist element, you can say, in that. But yeah, let's move on to a TV show. Now, I did not watch this show, Westworld, but it was just too obvious of a show that I keep hearing all the damn time from people. I know there was somebody that posted it in the comments. And I was like, okay, let me at least, for this one, I have certain notes that I can say with how it ties with Gnosticism and antinatalism. And again, for anyone that wants to come up, because I know, again, I'm only talking about from my experience watching shows, movies, but for this one, again, I wanted to preference initially. I did not watch this. I just said, okay, let me just see certain points from different YouTube videos on the show. And from there, again, it's very easy to see the Gnostic premise. It's just you're looking at a flawed structure, right? And you're in it and you're trying to get out of it, right? And the antinatalist element is that why would you impose such on any such person, future being? So yeah, Westworld, heavily, again, with how we're getting initially with the Gnostic premise of things. There's a constructed illusion that they're going through. Let me see, what's a good picture that I can mention? I mean, just even look at the iconography of this. I mean, you think it's one thing, but it's not. Again, with the illusion. I mean, it shows that great with this representation of this bird. I mean, it's just like that's exactly what this world is, really. And they have scripts that they go through. What is it? They have a Dr. Robert Ford that's like the demiurge creator of this reality. I have here that he literally creates conscious beings and writes their suffering into their reality. So think about that, how this whole demiurgic force is creating, in many respects, that structure for us to then live out the suffering states. So in this show, Westworld, Dr. Ford is playing that, demiurgic force and creating suffering loops. I mean, it's sick. And the park, again, with the constructed delusion, is that in the exploitation with the AI bots and whatnot, similar with the whole premise. Why would you put somebody in an exploitative state? It's just as silly. And again, similar with the past movies we just talked about, there's a memory suppression going on here too. So I think it's very interesting with a lot of these things we're initially going into. There's a certain point that they're mentioning with the memory being suppressed. And with memory, it ties into water, emotion, energy, and motion. And so if you look to try to mitigate and reduce people's memories, you literally reduce their spirit in a sense, like you reduce their type of ability to look to do some shit. So I think that was interesting how, this reality is literally like the Dark City one, sustained by people not knowing shit with the ignorance. Oh my gosh. And so with the Gnostic premise, just like from THX 1138, Dark City, with how he's trying to remember his ability, in THX 1138, he does not fuck with the meds. I didn't really harp on that point, but the main character on that first movie, he wasn't taking the meds eventually. He was like, no, fuck this meds. And so you're trying to remember, right? You're trying to tap into your innate abilities with that. And so similar with this, with how, what was the note there? That you're trying to, with the Gnostic premise, awaken yourself with the whole, again, enlightenment of things, or rather endarkment. You're trying to get yourself with the knowledge, because memory goes back to knowledge too, because it's all just experiences, whether it's your own lived experience or past, whether past lives or things that you can hear from other niggas, for awakening yourself from the mist that you're in. So I say they have here that there's a character called Dolores. She has a hearing, a voice in her head. She initially thinks that it's like a goddess in force, but she just realizes it's her own self. And so, as well, there's a character called Maeve. They have here awareness through memory, prior deaths, and choosing against her programming. So the maze that they have a maze kind of thing in season 1. It's talking about an inward journey that they're going through. And so it's getting into the self-realization element with the show. Let me see if I can pull up different characters here. But yeah, I know I saw there was one comment that mentioned Westworld. But let me show for Maeve and Dolores. I can show them on a picture together. It's a good one. I'll just show this one. So again, with Dolores, she has a voice in her head, and it's funny. I think it's interesting how apparently people don't have a voice in their head. How that's very common. I'm like, wow, people don't have a certain conscious element where they have whether you read in your head or just think in your head. Like people don't really have that for many. But in this show, again, they have it that this character Dolores, on the left, she didn't know, like, that's just herself. She thinks like it's some god of whatever, but again, it's just another version of yourself. But yeah, in terms of just kind of finishing up some different points with the Gnostic premises, again, with the control, they have a heavy surveillance going on. And from there, you're just trying to liberate yourself with the park element that's heavily represented. It gets into the artificial creation. And from that, it's like questioning, why am I in a fake world? You know what I mean? From there, you're just trying to get out, and see what you can from outside of it. And so the anti-natalist element with Westworld is just clear as day. I mean, literally, like I mentioned, with the creator, with what was it, Dr. Robert Ford? Why would you put creative loops on people? You know what I'm saying? Like, That is evil. That is like so fucked up. And so it just gets into like the creating ability being a harm, and that's whether we like it or not. That will come with creation, harm, destruction. Destruction comes with creation, right? Okay. And so there's just so many ways that unfortunate realities could happen. And so with that, it gets into the fact that would you really want to be in that type of state? You know what I mean? Like, did you consent to being in a suffering loop? No. When people say, "Oh, you agreed to this existence" or some shit, it's like that's such a fucking lie. Like, let's be real. Any version of you that they're trying to allude to is not you that you know you to be. Like, come on, let's cut the bullshit. Um, so let's see. Dolores has heavy antinatalist critique. They mention here says that with her arc, she evolves from innocence to radical clarity. Dolores realizes that humans created her species just for exploitation, that the world she inhabits is structured cruelty, and there's no benevolent justification for her suffering. And that's something that we all kind of had to come to terms with, that you know, our existence, there's technically obviously no justification for it other than our mother and fathers and whatever they wanted to do. And so I was like, wow, that's all that's going on here. You know what I mean? And so obviously it's like you don't have to continue the process. And so that's what Dolores had to realize for herself, and that's what we all had to realize for our own selves. That there's nothing more than just ourselves doing this to ourselves, and so we can stop it from the inside out too. So yeah, heavy with the Gnosis and antinatalism, especially being that again with this Robert Ford guy, he's creating these different suffering loops. So from that, with existence is guaranteeing suffering. So it just gets back to the point of, well, if you consciously know that and you have the spirit to do otherwise, why wouldn't you and promote doing otherwise than promoting the world? And that's why we're here, because we know with non-existence you're not here. And before, with anything here, you had no issues, right? No harm. And so it's just obvious as fuck that you know it's just the way to go. My boy Tadaris says here, and redundant dumb excuse of reality for whatever, for whenever. Yeah, it's just dumb excuse, like how you mentioned, no justification. Any such justification people can look to talk about, yeah, dumb as hell, because it's like they're just creating it out of thin air that, oh, we need to do this, we're here to do this. Like, come on, man, you're literally just saying it because you're trying to self-rationalize at this point. But it never took that, right? All it took was just DNA, us wanting to, have sex, and from there, here we are. But it didn't have to happen. You know what I mean? If you have, talk about intellect, rationality, let alone empathy, compassion for what could be, let alone what already is. So yeah, it is just a dumb excuse for what it is that people look to justify. Because we know, again, at bottom, like how they're representing in the show, creation is harm, equals harm, is within destruction. The actual destruction is good, that we're looking to do, is of a certain positive connotation, in the sense that you guys know what I mean, this destructive force that we're about, because we're not trying to promote any such possibility of this continuing, for any such non-being that would have to be dragged here, any such sentient thereof. So yeah, that is Westworld, a great show that eventually I'm going to get into. I could not watch. I know when it comes to shows, it just takes more time to finish out in this, that, the fourth. So I knew I wasn't going to get started. So I just said, let me just still talk about it, because it's a great show. I've heard just so many times throughout the years. And so I just wanted to give it its a bit of flowers for that. Life abolitionism says, when it comes to procreation, most people are not smarter than cats and dogs. Yeah, yep, it's just biology. That's all it is at the end of the day. Never took any justification, any human intellect. It's just human instinct, biology, right? And so it's just funny when you see people look to, actually now talk on this point. Like, no, it never took talking, okay? It just took your lower head and lower, animalistic self. And so to try to rise above that and still look to maintain this world is silly. It's again with the term, with the whole dark, city and stuff, like the ignorance is very ignorant. You are ignoring very clear realities that you are imposing. Yeah, so great point. Life abolitionism. Yeah, it's just they're no better. We're no better on that level. We're not, because you're putting people to have to do those similar processes of things. I know, like what they mentioned with before I get into the next Peep the Mythos movie or show. They mentioned that what is it? We're like 1% different from like apes or some shit. But even when it comes to these other, animals like a dog or a cat or some shit, we're not far off from them either. And again, we're already at bottom in a sense a clear animal. You know what I mean? We just have a certain level of intellect and reasoning. But like you said, at life abolitionism, many people are not using it. So yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, let's get into the next show. This one I did watch, Severance. I think this is a great show. I would highly recommend anyone if you have not. Westworld would be my Severance in the sense that I started that show a year before the last season came out, and so I what was it? I don't know. I caught it at a good time, and I was like, damn, like this show is definitely, you can say again with a lot of the gnosis we're getting into initially, with a lot of the structures that you're seeing with the plots of these shows. We mentioned before with Westworld and the theme park and the artificial element of that. Here with Severance, it's the whole fucking workplace, and obviously, I think any one of us, if you work, that's any version of you that you have to now work for this Audi version of you. And it's like, hold up, did your any self really agree to have to do all these work things and never have any actual fruit being bared for it? It's just being exploited by your other self. So yeah, it's just disgusting. But yeah, it's a great show. Great cast and everything on Apple TV. Um, and it's one of those shows that's no, you good, Shy. Appreciate you coming and anyone here. Um, it's a great show, and for you to see both elements with the Gnostic premise and antinatalism. Again, with how they have the whole Innie and outie, they represent it clear as day with this TV image here of our boy. I think his name is Mark in the show. Don't know if I can scroll up more, but you see the little Innie version of him on the computer. Um, and yeah, like how my boy Sean is mentioning here, it gets into this lack of will. There's a clear lack of will that's being done because you're being caged in. Okay, so when it comes to this, concept of will, there's a cage. I mean, again, we're in a body, so already you're talking about being in the cage of nature. So how much will are we actually really talking about? You know what I mean? So it's just it's nothing to defend. Putting people in this form of a limitation, and then with this concept of free will. The issue is when it comes to these concepts of free will, there's many things that people can do. That the issue is, again, like there's still a cage, but there's still a lot of things in the cage that we can do per se. But it can get very nihilistic, depressing to think like, okay, but I'm in a cage though. And so I will say, don't get too fixed on the fact of the fixedness with our will, because there's still, again, with how I mentioned before with the Dark City show and or movie, and how Jean Murdoch, he had a lot of untapped abilities that he further developed in the movie. Similar like us, it's still within our willpower to develop, certain untapped abilities, and so this concept of a free will, it still gets into the fact that there's a lot of free ability technically within our reality that we can do. And so don't think that, there's not still a lot that we can still tap into, because there is. And so get into the sense of, knowing there's more of what you can do. But let me talk more about the show here with Severance. So you have a show company. The company that this guy is in is called Lumen Industries, and then I think that's just a fascinating term, because with lumen, I think it kind of gets connected to the term of light, And similar, like these different movies and stuff, like surveillance, because you got to think when you're surveilling, you have like a knowledge, you have a light, you have like a magnifying glass, you're seeing vision, right? Lumen, light. And yeah, they're trying to pick out certain people, or rather the people they choose it. So I think that's interesting that they choose their cells to have to be, severed, and now they're coming into this concept of a reality of another version of themselves just working. Um, so again, it gets back to the concept that I mentioned of, oh, when people talk about you chose to come here. Well, no, that is not me. Let me tell you, that is not me. That is, even if it's another copy of me, that's not me. Okay. Me currently in this third dimensional reality, I did not have any say in the shit. You get my point? And so it's just fascinating when people try to impose such concepts to you. Oh, you chose to come here or some shit. Whatever higher essence that I might be connected to, I understand my purpose in a sense, but why? Goddamn, what a fucked up reality we're doing right now, right? I mean, what the fuck? Yeah, soul contract and whatnot. Like, what? These concepts, if you really want to play with it, it's so sorry. It is so sorry. Um, my boy, self-made. He said, my brain has a little man at the desk, except he split coffee all over it. Oh man, yeah, this one show Severance, it's just so relatable. Just given the fact that any one of us, if you're not with someone that's working, and you're fortunate to be with other people that are sustaining your livelihood, you have to sustain your livelihood, right? So this show has a clear connection with our everyday reality. It's very modern in that sense. But yeah, Lumen Industries is the company that these people agree upon to do this operation, to have their version of an innie, so that they don't have to work. But when it comes to the different reasons that they're doing this, it's typically some form of a trauma. So we have our boy Mark here. Basically, what was it? His wife, Miss Casey. Let me see if I can show her. And I guess I'm kind of spoiling part of it, but I mean, honestly, it's not a big deal. Any of these shows or movies, is Peep in the Mythos is more than just watching it just to watch it. But this is Mark's wife, and it's interesting because she is the therapist in the show. So it's interesting how they have her connected, and they still haven't really got into everything about her. She's the most interesting element of the show, Miss Casey. But the reason why Mark even got severed was because he lost his wife, right? It's always interesting how they try to connect this masculine and feminine with these movies and shows. But the reason why he didn't want to even think about working was because he just thought it would be better not to have to even be conscious for, work is like a third of your day. So that's one third taken away, that he doesn't have to now think about her. But it only intensified the other third, because of what we sleep for the other third, right? But that was the whole purpose with him for why he wanted to do this operation of having an any born into this world with no past, again with the memories, right? No context, right? So the any version of Mark, he was a great worker. Let me tell you, this motherfucker, this dude, he really was about his job. I think he became the manager or whatever supervisor of the department area he was at. But he had no context why he was there. All he knew was he had to work. And I think it's fascinating because I just, from connecting it to my life, I'm like, man, that's all I'm doing, man. I just feel like I'm always working to some degree. There's always this hustle mentality with the Western world. You always got to try to get a one up on people so that you can try to better maintain your existence. It's a dog world that we say, right? But yeah, that is, what is it? Another term, amnesia, with the loss of memory. It's like, again, with the loss of identity, going back to the initial movie THX, it's kind of telling you again, like they're trying to strip a certain connection that you have with, you can say, per se, another version, quote unquote, of you. Because again, that whole question of who are you, it's just a fascinating thing to contemplate. Who, quote unquote, am I? Again, we're just a mix of our experiences for who you know yourself to be. Because if you take that away, then who really are you from that point, right? If you take all your memories of your current existence, And so getting away from yourself, for a good point to mention here, before I get further into the show, the ego death, right? Knowing that you're not you for the way that you know yourself to be, is important. Important to realize that you're not your body, right? And so from there, you should have no, in a clear sense, attachment to. Yeah, that was funny though. He was a great worker, Shay Gal. He was, but you should have no attachment in many respects to your current self. That again, with this whole inner pleroma of things, you're more than what you currently are, and we know that. That's why we don't fucking promote the world, right? Because even if you're you for how you know yourself, you don't know anything more. Good. Because that's what it is. Nothingness. That's what you are, quote unquote. You know, it's funny. My voice changed out. I'll put it in the maybe video description at a certain point if I timestamp this. The whole how nothing, something can come from nothing, but nothing is where it's at. You know, like this whole something as we see is just it's ass, but the nothing, like yo, like that's the party. But there's nothing going on, right? For how you would, it's a play on words that I'm talking about, but we know, you know, with this current structure of reality, it's very dense, rigid, lack of freedom, restriction. But the nothingness, the chaos, you know what I mean? Like the issue is that it created this. So that gotta go too. No question about it. But that nothing is where it's at. And so it gets into how, in terms of the whole loss of identity, I would say that's okay. Cause like what were you before? It was still probably a fabrication of some other fabrication. And so it's fascinating. But let me talk about getting into the gnosis, because the antinatalist element with severance is very obvious. I mean, why would you place somebody to have to even contemplate the reality of fucking having to decide, oh, do I want to sever myself? Are you kidding me? My reality is so bad that I want to take off a third of it. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? And so it's clear as day. And let alone the idea of the whole, you know, antinatalist element, the whole any outie, you know, where again there's a version of you that's being exploited. I mean, why would you? I put the link back in the chat if anyone wants to hop on and mention any other points. I don't like just yapping. Let me tell you. But let me get into the Gnostic premise, because this one character, Helly, oh my gosh, even her name Helly, her hair red as fuck. Um, she is a fascinating character for anyone that doesn't know the show. So she, of course, as you see with her being in the office and space, whatnot, she severed herself. But the reason that she did is because she's connected with the bloodline to the family, and so she did it for a bit of a political statement, to get severed and into this whole any reality. And her any reality, which I find fascinating, because Helly represents a certain divine connection, okay, with how she's connected to some source higher in a sense, because this whole demiurgic thing is connected in a sense to something higher, okay, but it wants to play with this material reality. It likes the shit here or whatever. And so Helly is of a bloodline from that with the severance. And so when she has her any, she knows she does not give a fuck. Like she's trying to get out. And so that's with the Gnostic premise. You see the problem. You're trying to like again ascend out of the mess. Like it's clear as day when you get into watching Helly, and how she's that spark for the entire crew. Like if it wasn't for her, they'll be plateaued in that bitch, stagnant as shit. You know, it was really her with again, even her hair, the fire, the spark, the light. Like she was like, yo, what are we doing here? Like, are we just working all the time? Again, with like the questions, like before with John Murdoch, you know, she's not suppressing herself, man. She's trying to branch out to something more because she sees the limitations for what she's at, you know. And so I think that was fascinating. That again, element of trying to escape, clear as day, with her there. And she just with further trying to peep, she gets further knowledge and insights of things. And it's a great way that they develop it with the characters in the show, because it gets to a point that they know, you know, like there's another version of themselves. So once you get a certain level of knowledge, you can't go back, right? And so Helly is a great representation of that, of just knowing like, yo, you know, once you are certain knowledge is connected to you, you're not going to go back to your certain reality anymore. And she was barely there to begin with. She could take it. She can barely take it to begin with. Um, so yeah, I think that was fascinating. Just watching her character and seeing more of it because like she was like the less willing to be ignorant. She was very, what's the word? She played dumb when she had to, but you know what time she was on. She was just trying to get back to her actual self. I think it was in the first season, around the end of they do a particular moment where they're able to switch and connect to their outer version. And she once she had a mic in her hand, she was going off, saying like, "Yo, we are trapped. We're in some bullshit. We're trying to get the fuck out. These people don't know what they're talking about. They're imposing all this level of slavery on us and shit." Like, yeah, she's a great character in the show. For the Gnostic premise, for anyone that doesn't hasn't watched it, definitely recommend because it's a very easy concept with this show to see that again gnosis that's seeping in. Like she can't help but live that flame out and do whatever she can to get away from the prison system. So yeah, that is Severance. Definitely a great show again with the antinatalist element. It's just why why would you again force yourself to be of a certain exploitative tool for someone else. With capitalism, we're commodities, barcodes and everything, again with the lack of individuality. It's just clear as day. We know that with work you don't want to have to impose that to somebody else, and so that was with Severance. Let's go now to the next dark type of movie show. This is called The Dark Tower. So this was an interesting movie. I thought it was interesting getting into the children aspect of things with this one, and how I mentioned before, the children, they represent joy, they represent that childlike nature that we all have, right? Of course, with children, and how in this movie they're using children's minds and psychic abilities to try to unveil a certain barrier that's being upheld by the certain, again there's a certain barrier that's around the particular structure in this universe that they're in. And so Matthew McConaughey in this movie, he's you can say he has the demiurgic representation in the show because he's trying to, but see, let me tell you, because these movies sometimes they can sometimes make it seem like the villain is not good, but he was just trying to eradicate the world, okay? And he had his reasons in a sense. There's just certain ways he portrayed it. It doesn't go all the way, okay? So he knew the suffering that a lot of them are going through, and this, that, the fourth. Let me put this name on the stream here, Dark Tower. He knew a lot of the suffering that was taking place. That's why he was trying to eradicate the barrier that was going through. But they make it look so bad with how he was exploiting the kids. It was pretty sad. But he has a certain creative force too. He can literally revision past experiences and realities. He just manipulates matter too. Like this dude was crazy in the movie. He was able to again use the children, and with children and the spark, right, the light that they have, he was using them. They call it the shine power, and how humans, with the divine spark that they have, he was trying to harvest that to destroy the tower, because he didn't have that ability to try to do that for himself, but he was trying to use that to, in a sense, break off the material realm, but he was trying to just kind of have his own kind of universe within it. He wasn't trying to do it all the way that we're about, but yeah, I would say from Roland, for Idris Elba, he's the gunslinger in the show, movie rather, and he was trying to basically he was trying to kill Matthew McConaughey. He goes by Walter in the movie, and he was basically, that's all he was about, because Walter Matthew McConaughey, he killed his father. He goes by Roland Idris Elba. So that's really all that he was about. But there was a main character, Jake, in the movie, who his psychic ability was like untapped, like any other. Like he was on another level. Walter, again Matthew, he was trying to use him to break the tower, but Jake was trying to maintain it. You know how it is with these movies. He wasn't trying to end this existence, and so this movie was interesting because they played back and forth with these different elements. The villain isn't that bad, and the main character isn't that good. So you have to kind of do the pros and cons element. It's not just black and white. And this one, gray matters for sure. So for this one, I would definitely say anyone listening to this, you understand the premise that I'm looking to talk about. But you'll see, with Walter Matthew McConaughey, he had his points. Like there was a reason why he was trying to eradicate the Dark Tower. Because again, with the suffering, he had certain points in the different lines that you would hear him say in the movie. Like he understood, the unfortunate realities, a lot of his crew, because that's the thing, he was really self-centered with him and his posse. But he knew a lot of the shit that they were having to go through. And so from there, he was trying to, eradicate a certain structure, but he was still trying to maintain control and power on top of it. So he wasn't going all the way. So he was still very selfish in his ways. But yeah, this one, I would say again with the antinatalist, it's just obvious. Why would you have your children even have the potential of being exploited? And we see that, you know what I mean? Like when it comes to just being in a state. There's nothing else you have to say, but you get born and now you're imposed to, you have to get your as soon as you're born, they take your soul, your foot, imprint, all these different immunizations, vaccines, tests, and procedures. Even the food that we eat, processed foods. Like, why would you put that on your, loved one to have to go through? And so it's just the suffering. It's clear as day. Again, they use kids, exploit them. Let me see if there's a certain picture I can pull up. Kids in mind, like they literally. Let me see. Like they have them on these machines, kids psychic, and it's so sad. It is so sad. I don't know if I'm able to pull it up on a certain picture, but they're literally extracting their psychic abilities to try to break down that tower. And so again, with the exploitation, why would you put that on your child to have to be in any such reality, potential thereof? The exploitation with the children, which is crazy with this movie rather. I keep saying show. So it's just a clear overlap with the Gnostic premise and trying to escape. In this case, it's not too clear with how they were trying to escape because they were trying to still maintain the world. Jake, the main character, and the gunslinger, they were trying to, save the civilization. So it's not all the way the traditional Gnostic premise, but you see the different elements, and this is why I didn't want to start out with the Dark Tower, because it's not, again, it's not the conventional form of Gnosticism, but there's clear representations with it. And the Archon element, again, with Walter Matthew McConaughey, he has that creative ability, and he's using it for his own. That's the issue with him. He's not using it all the way to look to eradicate everything, any such potential. He's still trying to have his own little version of a happy go time. So that's the issue. It's very solipsistic for how he looks to maintain a certain structure, even though he's trying to eliminate the barrier with the Dark Tower. My boy Clairvoyant says he liked Dark Tower, forgot how I stumbled on it. Haven't checked out Severance. Cool. Yeah, definitely look to check out Severance. Dark Tower, it was a cool movie. But definitely, if you haven't watched any of the other ones initially, I would say just choose at least one film that I mentioned already, and then you can get into the Dark Tower, because this one, again, gray matters. It's not just, oh, the main character is this and the villain. No, Matthew McConaughey, Walter in the movie, he has his points. You will vibe with him, right? Similar with Thanos. We'll get into that scene with the Avengers, but there's he has his points. It's just he's not going all the way. And so with Idris Elba and yeah, how he's like the Gnostic warrior in many respects, but again, they're trying to maintain civilization. But it was still a good movie that I would recommend in this series of Peep the Mythos. So I still wanted to talk about it a bit there. But yeah, cool that you checked it out, Clairvoyant. And we'll get into the next series here. So I had it for the next movie. It's called The Platform. I think they're coming out with another one. So this one I watched a little bit ago, so I didn't actually rewatch this. I just remembered, and this is a great representation of the show. I mean, there's different layers, different levels, but as you can see, hopefully decently. Let me see if I can scroll up. Upon the different levels, they just throw down food to them. It is so fucked up. It is so fucked up. Again, with how there's a flawed reality going on. Very easy to see in this movie, The Platform. We know with, again, just a clear problem with reality. You got to eat, right? And so in this clear picture, we have it that to solve that problem with, hunger, yeah, we're going to feed you, but you're going to get the leftovers of the leftovers of the leftovers, again, with the copy of the copy of the copy. So it's just the fabrication of this flawed construct with creation. And so in this element, it's just very disgusting. It's a really disgusting movie. Very disgusting how they're having to, grub. It's really sad. I even forgot how they got imposed into this setting, but it's a very fascinating construct that they do show. It's like a vertical prison where, again, if you're on the top, you're good, right? With the whole ladder of things, social hierarchy, because you're getting the meal initially, and then it gets lower and worse, and then lower and even worse, and then so that was the whole demiurgic force, like how there is this, you can say, administration of people that are giving them these foods, but it's not fair at all. The equity is very fucked up. I mean, if you're on the lower levels, you're gonna get barely anything, and they show it clear as day here. I wonder if I can zoom in more, but I mean, you can see it. It's like, what the fuck is this? It's food, but it's like most of it's already been chewed up and shit. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's obvious with today's reality and how, a lot of these different movies and stuff. We talked about exploitation with Severance and the Innie Outie just before, with the Dark Tower and the kids getting exploited with their psychic abilities. Here with the Dark Tower, we have these kids that are, getting exploited because in terms of this movie, the platform, I don't know what the fuck they did, but they're here now, and they had to eat. We know we had to eat, and it's sick. It's sick how they impose these, people in these prison places having to eat the leftover of a leftover of a leftover. I mean, I just remember that vividly because this other guy that he's with. Let me see if I can scroll up. I mean, look at him. He's happy. So it's interesting, right? The relativity. You have people in the world where they're like, they're very, they take value, in this mess that we're in, the cesspool. I'm very, very pleased because he's going to get his momentary pleasure, right? He's going to fill up his stomach for the time being, and that's good for him. He's just focused on the now. He's not really thinking in the big picture of things. It's very unfortunate. But hey, that's the thing. We have to eat. There is one clear thing with this movie is just the sustenance. That's the day to day. Nothing new under the sun. We got to eat. You know what I mean? And this movie really highlights that with like how it's involuntary, that you're placed in a reality that you have to sustain yourself like all the time. You know what I mean? Like, and so they're really abusing that fact in this vertical prison structure that they have in this movie. So obvious awareness is like, okay, you see the problem, right? For this main character here, he clearly knows like, okay, this is fucked up, the reality that I'm imposed. And so again, with the gnosis, the inner light, the spark, you're trying to get out, right? And so that's just, the clear archetype gnosis, Gnostic premise element in this movie. I didn't even put it up on the screen, the title of the movie, but The timestamps will suffice, but yeah, that's what it is. In terms of the archonic force, they don't. I don't think. Again, I didn't watch the movie again, but they don't really show much of the rulers per se. They just show a lot of the prisoners in the movie. So kind of similar with again with these terms, archons, demiurge. You don't see them right in a certain sense. Yeah, we have the president or different legislators, this, that, the fourth, but there is a level of unseen with the different principalities, and so they have an unseen kind of administration that's again doing this orchestration of how people are sustaining their livelihood. But obviously, again, with like the inner child, the desire, there's a higher desire than just wanting to eat every day, right? And so this guy for the main character, let me see if I can give him a better picture. He sees it and he's trying to do something more. I mean, he's just so depraved. It's similar to the one initial movie, THX 1138. In that case, he didn't want to take the medicine anymore. I believe in this movie, he was starving himself, if I wasn't mistaken. I think he was starving himself because he was like, yo, like, I'm not trying to do this. I'm not trying to be in this reality and have to promote and, be a part of it. So yeah, heavy Gnostic, heavy Gnostic. He is that divine spark. He is that inner child that is not wanting to maintain this clear level of material prison refuge that he's in. And so he's just trying to find a way out. He looks to try to find comrades in the midst of it. Like, yo, do you guys see what I'm seeing? Like this is not it. We got to try to find a way out and everything like that. Because yeah, it's just why would you put that on somebody? And it's just food. Food is crazy. It's crazy that we just think it's okay. Like, no, these are other life forms in many respects. People eat meat. That's really what makes people full is the sustenance with meat and protein. So it's like, okay, we're talking about other life forms, or even if it's plants, vegetation, like even just the labor, you know what I mean? Like you have to keep on doing these forms of labor, to maintain yourself, just to maintain, you know what I mean? It's not like you're really doing much. You're just getting your head above water. Um, yeah, so yeah, this was a great movie though. Clear as day with both elements. You're going to see the Gnostic premise there, clear as day, and then obviously with antinatalism in the back of your mind, you're just like, why? Why would you ever put such a reality on somebody? But the concept is the same. It's very clear in this movie, with the whole, levels that they have and how, one level they're doing better. It's funny. This is actually a great picture because the higher level they're more ignorant, right? With the whole dark that we've been talking about, it's great that they have the symbolism of the blindfold for the one that's of a higher level, because you kind of have to be blind, to continue to maintain, the current structure of things and being okay, with how we see things. And so as you see with this one chick, like she's so disgusted. She's like, damn, y'all are so hungry, huh? Like, damn, like she got such a nasty smug. She's like, man, you guys are. And I don't know what he's really looking at. He's probably just so surprised by how, I mean, it's animalistic, when you really look at people when they haven't ate in a while, like we turn into like, wretched beasts as we know we are at bottom. Yeah, my boy Shingao says here the platform movie was ridiculous. So yeah, human greed is what it is, because that's what it is. They're just okay with them. They're focused, and I get it. Like when you are starving, you're not going to care about anything but yourself. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to eat. Like you don't, like we are imposed to have to be selfish. Even me on this stream talking and this, that, there's tiers of selfishness. You know what I mean? When you're in a selfish reality, like it just comes with the territory. But like you're seeing, there's levels to the selfishness. And yeah, the human greed is it's clear as day. But you have to, for any one of us, see that, and you're not about it. And so, like you see, if you watch the movie, I would definitely recommend watching the movie. And that's the thing with the movies, they're easier to just watch, on one sitting. And with some of the TV shows, I would definitely recommend any TV show that we're going to get into, have gotten into, to watch. But that one takes more time, right, than just watching a movie for a couple hours. But yeah, you're going to see the human greed. It's sad as fuck. But let me see my boy Shy. He said here the fact that humans in that world dimension would even arrange a way. Yeah, it is depraved. It is a lot of deprivation. Yep, yep. It's oh my god, bro. I'm gonna look to try to watch this movie. There was just a lot of movies I didn't watch. I was like, man, let me get into those ones because I remember watching this one. Once I saw the movie cover, I was like, okay, I remember this one. This was gross as shit. But yeah, it's yeah, heavily Gnostic. You're gonna see it with the main character. He is a spiritual warrior. Like he is trying to do whatever he can to get them the fuck out. And anyone that's about it, just like us here, anyone that's about it, let's continue to bond and build. And so this is a great movie. I would recommend for sure. The Platform. And yes, Sean, it all needs to go. I wasn't sure who you were responding back to. Maybe you were responding back OG to Sean from above. Sean mentioned why are people homeless over a piece of paper? Yeah, because yeah, I mean, clearly, in a sense, we could overthrow the government. We could, you know, organize and look to consolidate ourselves away from the structure of the political state, police state. Um, but we were not. We're clearly not. But let's see, life abolitionism. I'm watching on my laptop and my phone, so that will get you 2 views. Oh, I appreciate it, my boy. Yeah, I know people will look to come back and everything. I just wanted to put certain points out depending on the show and movie. And if you haven't already, because I didn't really put much posts where it's like, yo, try to watch this before the stream. But I wanted to make a stream of these different things so that, whether someone comes back or, of course, anyone that's listening, whether you've already watched something, right, you can then watch it again or watch it for a new and see these points because I want to be that going forward. You see these different Gnostic elements um, in these shows and movies. You should see it clear as day. It's just understanding the flawed construct and how you should be able to see yourself in that main character, right? And from there, you're trying to essentially escape. You're trying to ascend. But the point is that you should see in yourself in this reality. It's not just escaping this because that's easy. You should look to try to eradicate this, right? You don't want to leave this any such possibility for any such thing to still continue. You know what I mean? And so that's something that they're not going to show on the movie screens, but um, still seeing a certain level that they're showing you on these different films with, again, the flawed construct. And from there, like we know, with the anti-natalist element, you're not going to put somebody in a flawed construct. But the overarching rulers, the archonic force of things, again, it's all Gnostic for how it ties in together with that traditional view with Gnosticism. So let's see, was there any other point I wanted to mention with the platform? I mean, that was it. I really harped on. I mean, again, food. I mean, that's just one word. It's very unfortunate what we put people. So let's get into another show. This one I did not watch, but for whatever reason, I was recommended it, and so I have some notes. Raised by Wolves. I don't know if anybody has watched this. If you have, I haven't had anybody come on, and that's cool. That's cool. But if anyone's watched this, would love to hear anybody's insight. But I have some points that I had notated when it comes to Raised by Wolves and how it gets into these similar topics that we're mentioning with the dark gnosis and antinatalism. Let's see, what's a good little title we can look at. So it's pretty fucking weird. Just looking at the cover image, but they have here, I have a certain synopsis. So they have a character, Ridley Scott, is one of the most overtly Gnostic series. So that's the creator of the show, rather, Ridley Scott. He's the one that created the show Raised by Wolves, but severely Gnostic. So in the show, we have it that for the demiurgic force, soul is the name. And that is like the whole demiurge that's trying to keep the maintenance of the material world and keeping the souls trapped in their ignorance in it. And so I were to see soul, let me see. Soul, blah, 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 blah. I want to show the picture. Let me see. Soul, I think it's the one here. I think it's the one chick. This one I'm very talk about ignorance. This one I didn't watch, so I'm gonna do this one because it's pulling up both of them. I think this is like the more so cartoonish form. I think there was a book for it that came out. But Soul, the demiurgic force, is that false god trying to keep, again, souls trapped in the material reality. And in terms of the wolves, let's see, over and over shot. Yeah, I hear you. So in terms of, let's see, where can I say? So they have in the show, with again the divine spark, they have hybrid children. They have a certain unique power, a serpent type of energy that is being addressed. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't really have too much that I actually had. Man, I gotta have some points that I want to mention. There are so much shows that I was gonna go through. I'm like, man, there's gonna be one show that I'm gonna butcher a bit, and I knew it was gonna be likely this Raised by Wolves. I have certain notes, but I want to get to certain points. Let me see. Let me talk about the anti-natalist because that's an easier element. So again, with the demiurgic force, if existence is a prison, it's creating life, of course, morally justified. It's not. So with every birth that they have in the series, there's a form of manipulation, like we know with the creative element. You're gonna see it if you watch it. I haven't watched it, but these are notes that I have. There's a heavy level of engineering going on it. So there's a character called Mother, and her pregnancies is not a act of love. It's a result of deception by the soul character here. That demiurge force is using her for a biological instrument, and she doesn't fully understand why and the different capabilities of soul. But procreation in the show is not shown as sacred. It's a bit like it's mechanic. Like we know with these different demiurgic terms, is fabricated with that, the structure, even the word structure, order. But even with any procreation, they try to make procreation so in certain sense in these shows, sound nice and fuzzy, but it never is. It never is. But yeah, like the one movie, the Dark Tower, the children in this too are being used as pawns. They have here for notes I have for this one. Let's see. They have different factions. They have Mithraic believers and atheists. They claim to be protecting children, but the Mithraic, they're reproducing to fulfill a certain prophecy. And the atheists, on the other hand, are looking to reproduce to rebuild civilization. And the mother character is programmed to reproduce a rational colony within the midst of it. So the children, as we see it, are being instrumentalized. They're just being used as tools for whatever ideology whoever in the show is looking to promote. And so it's just nasty. And we know that with our own selves, that we're placed here for whatever emotional ideology of our parents, right? That whatever it is that they would want us to do and be a part of, status that they would want us to represent, even just taking baby pictures and all that shit. It's control. It's all just goes back to control. Why would you promote? Why would you be a part of such an orchestration? So, man, there is a lot of things I had, but I don't even know how to, because I want to continue to keep going. And I see I'm already almost getting into the 2-hour mark, and I have a few different sections. So let me just say different general points. So again, Soul here that I have on the screen, he is obsessed with reproduction, obsessed. He encourages conception. They have it. He wants to manipulate the fertility of the different clan members, we can say. And so again, prophecy is a big thing with this show. And from that, all that is just ideas in your head that you're trying to fulfill. And so it's like, for the antinatalist element, similar with this demiurgic, okay? This whole demiurge shit, you can say that's your mother or father, okay, on a clear level, right? They want to use you for a certain light because you have a certain light that, they're trying to exploit. Even, of course, endarkment, shout out my boy Shingal, but that's a light, that's a tool, that they're trying to use. And so, heavy exploitation in this show. Because even the term "raised by wolves," you already hear, the sliminess that they're trying to kind of put you privy to. Man, but yeah, this one I am sorry. I had a lot of notes and things to say with it, but I try to hit on certain things. Um, I think I said enough. Again, the material force is let's see. Let me see some comments. To Darius says, I love darkness, blackness, and the void. Yes, it's all black. Yeah. Yeah, before the show, again, it's I wanted to, because there's different structures that I wanted to start out with, and this is kind of finishing out the initial subset for the initial form of movies and shows that I wanted to mention. And these ones are like really good with the setting point, with the Gnosis. And then this one was heavy with the antinatalism, with the reproduction. So just wanted to mention that element. But again, with the demiurgic force, do know, like it's not just some cosmic creator of things, because everyone has that creative ability. So there's a certain demiurgic force within every one of us, right? The greatest enemy is ourselves. So I wanted to mention that to say, like these concepts can be broken down and relatable to our current reality. It doesn't have to just be a non-entity of things. And so you'll see it. You'll see it with how the show goes. I'll look to watch this at a certain point. But let me continue on. Have so many more to still get into. I'm going to get into now Children of Men. I do remember a lot of you guys had watched this one. I think this one came out late 2000s. It was a minute ago, but I thought this was, it's pretty fucking sick. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, so you're in a reality where, no one's fertile. I mean, thank God. But I mean, the destruction. Apparently, humans just can't live with each other once they're, in a reality where they can't procreate. You would think, okay, let's try to be more harmonic, right? And with the resources that we do have, let's, help others with what we have, and be more communal, and compassionate. But in this movie, I know a lot of people have watched this, so I'm going to put that link back in the chat, because y'all got me just yapping. I ain't got much to eat off of with the comments, but we'll see with this one. But yeah, you would think that people are going to be more, kinder to each other when it comes to this, case that, we're not able to procreate. Like, what the fuck? So this is all that we have, you know what I mean? And then from there, we're out, deuces. But they make it just so fucking terrible. I mean, you can clearly see in this picture where there's all this different wars and shit going on, and it's like, why would they do this? This is so, with the term psyop, it is heavy psychological operation going on, where they're trying to make it seem like, oh man, humans, they don't know what to do with themselves if they don't procreate anymore, if they don't have that ability. Oh, that it's just going to be a bunch of war and famine, and can't live and survive. Everything is just so even more deprived. Oh my God. So in that element, I got a little irritated. I was like, wow, they're really trying to manipulate the minds of people watching this movie, because you would think, in my eyes, okay, if we don't have that ability of fertility, okay, then we don't have to now have this outlook of having to, plan for generations upon generations upon generations. No, we can use all the resources right now. You know what I mean? We don't have to, worry about anything in the future. Let's just take care of people right now. So that was one element I did not like of this movie. They made it just seem so destructive. Like, oh my God, people can't procreate anymore. It's all just destruction going on. No, I mean, the world is already that, but it can be much more graceful, for how we can exit. But in terms of the movie, they have that again. They have different refugees. So this one character here, I believe she's Key. She was literally a key, being that she was the only one that had the fertility ability. But there was one person that died initially in the movie, and he was the youngest person alive. And that was a big like letdown with people. They're like, wow, like the youngest person alive just died. I feel even older. But like everyone was just so damn gloomy. Like, damn, like we can't have children. So it really lost the meaning. And it really came to associate how people apparently with the whole meaning with existence of how people tie it to their child and children. Check out, you're funny. Oh man, let me put it on the screen so that people can see once the stream is up. They just let that baby. Oh man. But again, with the meaning attached with procreating, I think it's a damn shame that your life is clearly so shitty that now the only way that you feel joy is bringing another fucking unfortunate hole, dependency, empathy, that will now have you so happy, and this whole meaning and pleasure and shit. I just thought that was pretty sick. But yeah, in terms of the Gnostic element, as you can see, Gnosticism in terms of the demiurge, archonic force, right, rulers, states, as you can see with the military type of troopers in the background with the war going on. That's the clear archonic force. They were definitely heavy with the enforcement of the law. Surveillance was heavy, the police and the different borders that they have. And the refugees, right? The refugees were really stigmatized in the series. And Theo, in terms of representing more of the Gnostic element. See, and this is the thing, because they use, again, similar with the Dark Tower movie, they're using certain Gnostic principles a bit in reverse, because in a sense you can use him as like the seeker. He's like the one particular person that's like, initially he didn't want to have to do shit. It's funny because it's not funny, but he lost a child with one of the other characters, Julian, in the movie, and he really was dull after that. But after he realized, like, yo, this chick is pregnant, like it changed everything for him. He was like, yo, this is why my, you can say, ex-wife wanted me to try to protect her, because he had a child for himself, so he was very within that relatability of things, and so he was trying to maintain that hope for humanity. So in a sense, they're reversing this Gnostic premise to try to, with this light, the baby is the light. But see, this is, I wanted to end this after going with initially talking about a lot of other movies, to say that these concepts, you should be able to see it one way or the other. Okay, so the baby's like the light of the movie. It's funny, like you'll see it where troopers and this, that, the fourth, there's war going on, but everybody stops when they see a baby. They're like, oh my God, I forgot like the innocence, that's within this world. Like there is an innocent element. We all have that, the inner child in you that never asked for any of this. And the baby kind of represented that. It's just sad because they were using that as a, talk about a form of control, a form of mechanism for promoting humanity. When there's an inner child, right? It doesn't have to be within this physical form. No, like everyone has an inner child. So it's like, hold up, even if we don't procreate anymore, which is great, right? Not having to impose birth and death. Why would we, be in this reality? Why are we in this war struck fucking environment where people aren't able to like sustain their livelihood? And talk about the platform movie. My boy Tadarius mentioned here, Feeding. People were like poor as shit. Look at what the fuck they're wearing, man. You can see it with a lot of the different characters in the movie. Like why would you place any such reality where with the refugees? They're just so they're caught in a lot of despair. I mean, the movie was really fucked up. I didn't really like it in the sense of, again, it was promoting humanity, but again, the child is supposed to be the inner light, okay? Because similar like with Theo, um, realizing the fucked upness of what he was around, that's why he was trying to help the refugees because the refugees were on the bottom of the totem pole, similar with the one movie, The Platform, the different levels. He saw the level of unfairness going on. So he was trying to, he wanted them to go to the hospital and stuff and this, that, the fourth. But there was just all these different factions and stuff, and people looking to use this as a what's the term? They were trying to market this for their own selves. Everyone was just so selfish in the movie. But the lack of peace, or lack of no peace, rather, in the movie, in terms of the flawed structure of the reality, the very fact that any such reality has a potential for it to get to this place. You know what I mean? Let me see. What's another good point? This isn't another good picture. Let me see if I can zoom in better. I mean, look at this. The refugees, they're in cages. I mean, the very fact that the possibility of a reality can come to this type of state, you know what I mean? Like, no, forget that. Forget that. And so the Gnostic premise, this is more within your own inner light. Like, you should see how that, this is fucked up. Okay. And it's clearly represented with today's world. It's not obviously a one for one, but we see that if you watch the news or this, that, the fourth, you see geopolitically all the famine going on and how different factions are benefiting off of it. But overall, we're not, as a collective, we're not. And so, yeah, I know a lot of you guys watched the one movie, Children of Men. I was trying to see if anyone was trying to hop on. I'm a little bit disappointed. I ain't gonna hold you. Not that it has to be Shane Gower, the usual ones, but I was kind of trying to see if anyone wanted to say certain points, not just comment and shit. But it's cool. It's cool. I just want to get through some different movies for you guys to look to get into if you haven't. But I know a lot have already watched this one, so I just wanted to give it its flowers because, yes, it's a great antinatalist movie. The Gnosticism, if you already listened to other points I already mentioned, you should be able to peep the mythos that we've already kind of been mentioning. And if you go back to this movie, you should see how, again, with the antinatalism, it's similar with Gnosticism. You should look to eradicate the world, because with this whole prior traditional form of Gnosticism and trying to escape it, theoretically, you would want to erase it, not just leave your fucking self. That's just another form of selfishness. No, you're trying to actually do what you can to eliminate any possibility thereof. Because look at your fellow, men and women that's trying to have to go in any of this bullshit. You know what I mean? And the different suffering that they're still in while you're escaping this fucking prison. Like, look at the cages that they're in. You know what I mean? And so this whole dark gnosis is just a reference point to know the flawed construct that we're in. And then from there, we should eradicate it. We know that consciously, in our own minds, we know theoretically you would want to wipe out this shit. And so this movie is a great representation in that. But like, no, this should not be any whatsoever. So yeah, that is Children of Men. I mentioned the one show on the description, Attack on Titan, but we've been going on that show just so much. I feel like I don't even really need a. We mentioned this show so so damn much. I feel like there's been one show that I've been mentioning. Attack on Titan has been it. I mean, goddamn. I mean, what's a good? Let's see. Let me see certain Titans. The nasty Titans. Let me see. Yeah, these niggas. I mean, look at this. Like, any such possibility. Like, what? You're telling me that there's a potential for humans. I'm just talking in the sense of the show, to come up to have to be a Titan, to have to be any such nasty ass shit as that. I mean, fuck anything else. The possibility that again, in the construct of the show, that this could happen, like, what the fuck? I mean, what the fuck? I mean, oh my God, Attack on Titan. Oh my God. But it's a clear thing. I mean, talk about from the prior movie, Children of Men and the war going on. You talk about these kids, my boy Aaron and shit, and the war that they're in. and talk about the lack of memory that he didn't have as a child and shit. Um, like what you know the destruction that you're in. You know what I mean? In terms of these points I'm mentioning for the anti-natalist element. Um, but you're putting your own, family, loved ones, son or daughter in a, war-stricken, type of situation where that's all they really know with these titans and any such possibility of your different walls getting breached down and attacked and shit. I mean, I know there was a certain point where they had what over a century or hundreds of years, whatever amount of time where they didn't have any destruction going on within the walls. But again, the possibility, shout out to my boy Shanghao with again, that's the real issue. Possibility, the very possibility of such flawed realities of being a potential, and so this show really shows a great representation of that, where with the demiurge force, they're trying to maintain a certain creation element, order of things. But with the chaos, the thing with chaos, again, with the potential possibility, it's with great power comes with great responsibility. Because if it's unleashed in the wrong way, you have a lot of unfortunate talk about what I'm showing right here on the fucking screen. I mean, it's disgusting already on this front. Let's talk about the again, the harm. I mean, my boy Aaron, with his mom, you know what I mean? Fucking died and shit. I mean, in front of his face from this one smiling ass Titan. I mean, imagine, having to face the reality of watching, your mother or whatever, any person you actually value in your existence, die so barbarically for no reason, for at least a pathetic reason. It's sick. It is sick. And so in terms of the Gnostic premise, again, with identifying the problem, I mean, what the fuck is clear as day? You know what I mean? This again, possibility of such a reality. This show is just so condensed and it's thick. The plot is thick because every season's like its own show. At least like season 4 is like its own thing. Because initially it's like, okay, fuck the Titans. And then it's like, we're the Titans. And then there's different factions at the last season where it's like, oh, still, we're fucking the Titans. We don't fuck with them. We still want to maintain humanity for most people that watch the show because, they want to maintain their own humanity here in this world. But then there's people like us that are the Jaegerists and they're like, no, I'm a Titan in this bitch, with the primordial. I'm trying to eradicate. The issue is they're never trying to go all the way. With these different shows and movies, they often won't go all the way. Aaron was trying to fucking save his friends. No, fuck his friends. His friends were trying to still maintain the world and everything, and they were going against him. So it was just sad as shit how they were, again, they can only show so much on the TV screens, and they're not going to give you the whole story. But if you're of our mindset, you already know what the fuck is up. That's what I mean. Like, we should be going back if you are ever watching any of these different movies, shows, and whatnot. You should see these different elements with the anti-nihilist Gnostic premise. All it is eradicating this bullshit. You know what I mean? And that's why, shout out to my boy Shanghao, man. Erwin, man. Oh my God. If there's somebody that is of that mindset of anything possible, anything in our reach, you know what I mean? Like, we are taking it. We are utilizing any force of that entropy. Now, of course, Erwin, he had his own goals and motives and this, that, the fourth, but the willpower of this man is definitely what we should all be about. I haven't watched the initial, first, second seasons in a minute, but I really appreciate there's been past videos, and I'm going to have you, Shanghao, post in the comment section. I'll look to, include some of it in the comments section because this character, Erwin, you have to be this commander. Let me say that. Commander Erwin Smith. You have to be that for your own self, let alone any such comrade that you can, connect to. But the willpower of this man, just look at the eyes, when it comes to certain pictures. I mean, this one's, of course, the main one. I mean, you just see the determination, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, in terms of getting into some of the Gnostic premise with Attack on Titan, Aaron Yeager, too, you can mention, is a bit of the Gnostic rebel. He's trying to get away from the current civilization structure of things, with how Marley, that's another island and set of people against the Eldians. Eldians is Aaron and all his niggas, and how they have the ability of becoming Titans. Really, anyone can become a Titans with the serum, but they're just seeing the authoritarianism that's being imposed upon them, and from there's not a lot of free will, within that, with the structure of things, with the different walls, and you're going to see it with the first season. They get heavy with the political system and the government, the hierarchy, man. Like there's no justification, just like how we mentioned before, there's no justification with procreating. Well, from there's no justification for any hierarchy. Fucking again with the non-equity, another term is exploitation, but the way they exploit it is kind of different in this show, because in this case with Aaron being a Titan, they're trying to use him for their political means, right? They're trying to use him as a tool, to maintain their civilization, to be frank. But I would say, again, with the Gnostic premise for this show, it was definitely heavily with the antinatalist element with Attack on Titan. But the Gnosis, it's not just one way. Again, with how I have it on the screenshot here with the boy Erwin and his eyes, like that's you can talk again. I say the word endarkment because my boy Shingal was saying, like, "Lo, let's create our own term and fuck this enlightenment." But with that term endarkment, you get the point of there's a rage, man. There is a rage going on, and Erwin was a great representation of it. We all have our own goals in our head, we know we're trying to eradicate this existence, in terms of what the fuck this existence is doing, for any such sentient creature here, you know what I mean? And so we are of the extinction force, trying to make it of a whirlwind. Let me see, is there another? I know we talked before about Flock too. That's another great character in the show. If you haven't watched it, just watch videos of this guy. I mean, again, with the eyes, there's some other funny pictures with him, but again, that like the determinism, like we all should be about. Again, with how I mentioned the term one movie, Dark City, and our untapped abilities, Flock tapped into his untapped abilities. He's still a human. He's still, he don't really have that much ability, but the mental willpower that he represented is heavy. It's a heavy thing to see. Again, with the Gnosis, the inner like spark, he was a spark for the Jaegerists. He almost fucking did a Hail Mary at the end, but again, they're not going to make the true team win at the end. But great representation. If in terms of Flock, season four is when he really shined. Erwin, for another great spiritual warrior representation. I think it was just really season 1, 2. I don't know if it was in season 3. I think he already died off at that point. Season 1, 2 with Erwin was heavy, the mastermind. And we should be that. I mean, honestly, every single day I'm living in this shit, man. I'm trying to be of that, because I know, again, with how the surveillance of things and whatnot, I know they're looking at people like me, as egotistical as that may sound. There's a reason why people like me are trying to do streams like this, with the Mark and Shangals, anyone here that's been vibing, the Clairvoyant, Tadarius, Shy Deo, like they whether we like it or not, you may know it or not, they do have a tab on you. But that shouldn't fucking matter. From there, you should be doing what you can, with this permeating of the entropy. At the very least, like I always mentioned from before, fucking meditate. Like, don't think that doesn't mean a fucking thing. It does. Your mentality, are you kidding me? Everything is mental in this existence. You know what I mean? Just look at Flock. He changed his mentality to be able to put himself in the position to, try to save his Eldians, but like you get the higher point that he should represent to you, being for your team, and our team is of the uncreate, you know what I mean? And so doing whatever it means, doing whatever you can in your lane for that. So I just love the representation of Flock in the show. Because yeah, he did a great job with that. And it's just oh man, it's just great. It's great. But it's interesting. What's for another I appreciate Chi Shing Gao. For another character in the show, it's interesting because what did he talk about? Um, Trying to, with the whole euthanasia, Zeke was trying to do that with ending birth with the Eldians. Like, hey, if we can have it that we, just don't have us procreate, well then yeah, there's no Titans. But see, that's just a level. That's just a level. Nothing of any such possibility should be happening on any front. So I thought it was kind of, they're always going to just show a certain level. And with Zeke, that was, what he was trying to do, sterilize all Eldians, so that the whole Titan possibility is pretty much wiped out from happening. But see, it's still not eliminating the fact because Titans can, on the show, they represent war. Um, but see, the issue is it's already warlike what's going on. They're still gonna fight with themselves. It's just because Titans were just so different, they didn't know really what to do with it. And it was causing and could cause a lot of destruction to other nations and this, that, the fourth. And so because Zeke was within that relatability of being a Titan, he knew the harm that was going on, and so he was trying to make up his own plan, but it was only a certain level of things. But it was interesting just seeing that contrast with that and Aaron, and how Aaron, while he was still trying to maintain the world for his friends, he clearly, as you would know if you watched the show, was of that primordial force trying to wipe out existence because he did 80% of it. He did a certain level himself. But again, he they couldn't represent him all the way because clearly, I mean, that representation with Aaron, that motherfucker truly should have been, it's kind of similar like Thanos again. Like that is of the uncreate, man. Like that element of no, I'm doing what I'm seeking right now. Like anything you're saying is a bunch of bullshit. You can see it on season 4. Aaron was a different character. He was of a different mentality. Again, with like the general type of mentality of Commander Irwin. He knew his mission. He had the vision. They harp more further on, with the futuristic, what was it, ability that he had to see in the future. He already knew everything that was going on. Similar from before. It's interesting how I was mentioning a lot of the prior movies. They're talking about a lack of memory. Aaron had the memory, and what was he trying to do? Wipe out technically all of it. That's the higher principle that we know, the inner esoteric understanding that we need to eradicate this existence, right? They can only show it to a certain level on TV. They'll have Aaron and his friends still singing and dancing around, even though he died. But in spirit, he was still with them. But yeah, that rumbling, man, that rumbling. Let me tell you, like how we mentioned with the entropy, when I think of the entropy in a certain symbolic sense, it's that rumbling, man. Let me tell you, what's a good picture? Oh man, like that is of the how can I say, just the natural elements of things, because any such rumbling when it comes to our physical world is going to be of a natural force for how it can happen, more than just our whole own human will and us enacting certain bombs or whatever the fuck. This rumbling is, again, it gets to whether volcanoes, tornadoes, again, these different just natural fucking forces that's then fucking with, as you see from below, wiping the fuck out all this shit. So again, with the representation I mentioned, with the meditation on the annihilation, the rumbling, technically, with the how entropy, my boy Shanghai has put in the comments, it's just a representation of that. Oh, it looks so sad. Oh my gosh, yeah, the world's coming down. Oh my gosh. But again, there's a higher principle of things. This is just a TV show, but it's way more than any such current existing life. Like, come on, man. Um, I know some people listening is going to be like, what is Uno talking about? But no, are you kidding me? If you can lay down your life right now and from there, there's no such possibility thereof that's going to continue after. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, yes, be fortunate that any such, and you are consciously aware too that any such is not going to happen again. You know what I mean? Because there's a reason. There's a reason why there's people in this existence are trying to eliminate currently the possibility thereof of any such existence from happening again. You know what I mean? Because we know, okay, we're here now. Talk about all this lost memory. People talking before, oh, you've been here, you've done that, you've been here all these different lifetimes. You know what I mean? So, in a clear level, you can see the level of plausibility that we need to wipe it out while we're physically here. Um, so there's a clear level of a truth with that. And so with this whole antinatalism, of course, we're not trying to fucking put people here. That's obvious. That's easy as shit. But tap more further into that, right? Uncreatability of things, that junk bond DNA. You know what I mean? And yeah, my boy Tadaris is talking about the fifth dimension, just going beyond, and with that, man, I'm telling you, it's still while we're here, tapping in to us here, when we're trying to go beyond. Let me tell you, I just thought it was fascinating when I did that one stream with Shingal the first day of the year. It was of the same time they had a particular volcanic eruption happen in Sicily. And then that one stream that I mentioned with Ani, like that is a certain connection to something like this. You know what I mean? Because that's a magic. That's something that we can tap into. I mentioned it on one of my past streams, and a clear timestamp that anyone can go back into and meditate on. Because again, with the concept of free will, people could fix on the fact that, we're in the cage of nature. There's no free will. Listen. You don't even know your untapped potential. You don't even know, how much ability you actually do have, in the quantum realm of things. We get so fixed on what we can consciously do in our current state, but you're more than that. How often do you meditate? How often do you actually prioritize some of these different points that we're trying to mention? You know what I mean? The more you do it, the only more that you're going to invest and bolster up that, side of yourself that can then further permeate here. So it's more than what meets the eye. That's all I can say. And so that's why I mentioned at the very least, just shutting your eyes, saying that's a fuck you to the world. You know what I mean? That's creating a certain level of energy in-house. And from there, let me tell you, I didn't put Hunter x Hunter, but it gets into like the Nen, the Zen. Like there's a force that when you can intentionalize a certain untapped power that you all have, we all have. From there, that's like what's the term? Battlefield, with the coordinates. Like there is, and so from there you should already say no with your subconscious. I'm not talking right now consciously to people. I'm talking to your subconscious right now. That there is something untapped there. Yeah, I feel you, Shah. He says here, I can't wait for my end. The true fight battle begins there. Yeah, because this battle right here, this ain't shit. Let me tell you. We think this is it. No, there's other levels and all this other shit, other spiritual realms and shit and planes. Yeah. This is what they call ground zero, Malkuth. This is only but so much. But this is a great training ground right now. And so yeah, developing your spiritual acumen is, I think right now we're in Pisces season. So even today, Jupiter, and Pisces is traditionally ruled by Jupiter. So the spiritual teaching right now that I'm trying to dispense to my comrades right now, anyone listening, and we'll look to listen on the stream. Again, I'm trying to emphasize that untapped ability. Don't get so fixed on the fact that, there's no free will per se in the cage that you're in. No, even in that cage, there's a lot of things and possibilities that we have that people are not, again, with the dark and the ignorance, are ignorant to, that I may not know myself. You know what I mean? I'm authentic in this shit. I don't know everything, but I know there's more to me than I've currently done. You know what I'm saying? So the more that you just try to focus in and invest on what you truly want to invest in, like, come on, man. Like it's something that we need to look to do. So so just going into antinatalism with Attack on Titan. I mean, like you can clearly see with the rumbling, the possibility of a rumbling, birth is clearly like a fucking curse to have to place to somebody. So while these people are so sad, oh my God. And listen, this is why I say certain people, depending on where you live, knowledge is a privilege. To get to the point where consciously that it's fucked up to put people to have to come and die, even though it's very simple once you come to this point. But many people, they don't have the time to actually think. Again, with the prior movies, the platform, you always have to eat. Um, People don't have time to think. You know what I mean? It takes a level of privilege, to have this time to consider, to contemplate more than just your current immediate needs, looking really with the higher scope, the Jupiter, expand your mind to more things than just your current version of yourself. But yeah, you can, from there, when you have the time, you can see, yes, biology, this construct, everything, this is all flawed and a curse, clearly. Even the survival is harmful, and this concept of a hope, this concept of whatever, these are just Ponzi schemes, that they're trying to instill into the mankind. Um, so yeah, that is Attack on Titan. So much I can say, but man, we got over almost 2.5 hours, and I still got a certain level. We're about halfway, and I'll keep it going quick in a sense. Um, yeah, I hear you, Shy. Authenticity is the highest frequency. You know what I mean? Because let me tell you, there's a reason why I'm doing the streams. I don't know all the answers. Shit. That's why I've been appreciated to connect to Shangao, talk more with Mark, and even you, to Darius' son, whenever I'll be doing these streams and anything. That's why I say mention join the Discord. I'll post it in the particular comment section, as we have been. Because I'm looking to be more engaged there. Talk to you guys more about different things I whether see, or you guys. There's a lot of people amazing. Put so much there. I mean, geez Louise. And it's just getting further into this mentality. That's a form of meditation in and of itself. You know what I mean? Meditation don't got to be always just closing your damn eyes and shit. You know what I mean? It's just the intention. What's the intent? When it comes to meditation. And so, my boy Tadarius says here, more redundancy is not what I want. Exactly, man. Redundancy is irrelevancy, right? And this world is that. What the whole something with this world is? This world is honestly nothing. How we're trying to go back to the nothing. Even the something is too, because it's they're trying to maintain. They're trying to make it with the term redundant. They're trying to not make it redundant, but it is what it is. You can't get around it. Shai says here, that's a very good and empathetic point. Gnosis is unfortunately a privilege at this point. Yeah, it is. It is. Like I tell you, I always say sometimes to certain people, it wasn't until I had a laptop, my own personal laptop, that I came into this certain like heavy emphasis of certain things and knowledge seeking and stuff. Because before I had to share a computer, this, that, the fourth, with my other siblings and everything like that, So yeah, it's a privilege, man. And like we mentioned from a prior stream, all these different technologies is from the other suffering of other people. So, oh my God, it's yeah. But from here, obviously, if you have the different resources, you got to use it. If you are, about us in this mindset, you got to use it to these different type of advantages, no doubt. Clairvoyance says hidden powers that can be unlocked, unleashed, untapped potential, no doubt. And that's what it is about these different shows. I didn't mention this initially. I'm going to look to make a timestamp here. Very important. There's a reason why I'm even mentioning these fucking medias. You know what I mean? Like, as you guys know, I'm not always fucking posting and everything, especially on the like YouTube video side of the channel. But there's something there. There's a reason why people gravitate to, the Quran, with Muhammad and fucking Jesus Christ with the fucking Bible and shit. There's a reason motherfuckers like the story element of things. It's speaking to you more than your conscious mind. You know what I mean? Talk about rewatching some of these movies. Talk about reading the fucking Bible or whatever book that I'm sure, whatever, religion that you got brought up in. Knowing what you know now, you know what I mean? Talk about untapped potential. Those different texts, talk about like that. That is like oh my God, there's just so much that can get further developed and ingrained to yourself when you go back. I need to go back myself even after talking to my shit and then future listening to my fucking recording here. Yeah, there's a reason, like they put a lot of these truths in these different medias, you know what I mean, in these movies, and this, that, the fourth, I don't know what type of contract they have to do these things. I don't give a fuck, but the gems are there. So you gotta see it. You gotta see it, and from there utilize it. You know what I mean? Let's see here. I like some of the comments here. Shout out to my boy Lone Richie. Man, I've been standing. This is actually the first stream where I was. Some streams I've been sitting down. This is actually the first stream. I'm actually gonna lower my standing desk real quick. Oh man, give me one moment, guys. All right, I didn't want it to listen, put too much of that. I'm sure you can hear a little bit of that in the background, the feedback, the desk going down. But this is the first time where I've actually now sat down. I've either sat down the entire time or I stood up. Interesting, interesting. But yeah, so I got my boy Shy here. He says, just got to have each other's backs out there. We're definitely far more powerful together than we are alone, of course. But yes, still very powerful on your own, but we're just more together. No question about it. Either way, there's still something untapped in there, no doubt, Shy. But yeah, in more numbers, as we know, you're on it. You're on it. Tadarius said, meditation and yoga has me armed to the teeth. Yep, it's simple. You know what I mean? It doesn't really take much outside of yourself in terms of these different untapped, even psychic abilities that we're mentioning here. You know, we're living in a certain time now. You know, you can mention with this whole astrology of things, because astrology, that just represents different elements that are made up of. This whole Pluto in Aquarius. Let me tell you, you might see niggas fucking levitate or some shit. Who knows? I'm laughing now, but when we see it, you know, things 30 years ago was fucking crazy, and now it's fucking whatever now, normal and shit, you know. But this, again, when you look into what Pluto represents in an Aquarius, you know, and the humanitarian technological advancement, regeneration, power dynamics with Pluto, like combining those different dynamic archetypes, who knows what the fuck else. But it takes us. It's not like it's gonna, you know, naturally people will be more compelled to do certain things. You know, it's just all for a certain type of flow, you know, with these different transits and everything. But you should feel compelled, right? Like my boy Tadarius is saying, just getting into your own abilities that we all have. You know, it's just how much are you investing the time, really? As we know, with any, whether it's like a job, a school, this, that, the fourth, the more time that you put into things, you know what I mean, the more then you receive the ability. So yeah. Appreciate these comments. Some good comments following this Attack on Titan. And let me tell you, I mean, all these different, I'm going through so much right now. I was like, damn, each thing could have been its own thing, you know what I mean? Or if I really wanted to hone in, but I was like, nah, I just want to say certain points for most of them, and, you know, just go from there. So yeah, let's go on to the next one. We got The Running Man. So that was interesting film here with my boy Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right, The Running Man. Let me put it on the stream there. So again, with like the Gnostic element, let me pull up a good. Let me see what's a good. This is good. So with Gnosticism, again, like the setting is very important. Obviously, too, with antinatalism, I mean, of course, you're placed into some type of environment with being born. But Gnosticism just kind of hones in with the architecture, with the archons and the demiurges and that creation ability of the higher scale cosmically. So in terms of this Running Man movie, you have, what is it, this boy here? What is this Arnold man? What is his name in the movie? I forgot. Let me try to see if I can pull it up. Man, what was the old one? What year was that? Because they had a recent one that just came out last year, and they trying to pull up the 1987. Here we go. What was his name? Ben Richards. There we go. So yeah, Ben Richards, he's placed into this fucking game show, right? So there creates a setting in a game show where, talk about and I didn't harp too much about this too much. I said a certain point initially, but conflict. You know, this world creates conflict. It's a conflict creating realm. Creation creates conflict. You know, it's interesting how they both start even with the letter C, consciousness, conflict. But that's what this world is. But in this show, or rather movie, they're placing the game show. He was initially some type of like military trooper, Ben Richards, Arnold here. But they manipulate what he was doing. He actually was compassionate. He wasn't trying to bomb or strike down on some civilian area, but they manipulated that recording to make it look like he was trying to, you know, send strikes down at some type of civilian populated area. And so, because of that, they placed him in the show for a form of a punishment because he was about to be jailed up and this, that, the fourth. But they said, you know what, you can come to this show because we see your talk about untapped potential, but his is tapped as fuck. As you know, with Arnold, strong as shit. And so he's a good entertainment value, right? And so they wanted to use him and extract exploitation, as you've been hearing a lot with these different movies. They're trying to exploit, you know, his abilities and putting him on the show to fight against the different gladiators and some shit. So that's a lot of the Gnostic premise and how, you know, in terms of the demiurge, they want to utilize people like you, people like us, because we're batteries, right? And that is what talk about the running man, right? It's a similar kind of concept with the battery and the charge, the running on, the power. And he's utilized for, again, the entertainment purposes for the public, right? In the movie, let me see if I'm able to pull up the crowd. They have it that there's a live audience, right? That's this is a decent one. That's, you know, watching. We got this guy over here, a little fucking don't even know the term. Oh man, I've been seeing so much. You know, waving the flag. They're enjoying the spectacle. You know what I mean? And it's sick. It's sick that that's the reality we're in. You know, when you go to watch any show, you know, that's what we're doing. You know what I mean? Talk about reality shows. We're benefiting in terms of our entertainment from watching, you can say, the suffering clearly of other people. So it was like, bro, it's so messed up. It is so messed up that that's happening. That's not, again, with the term ethical. We know anything in existence is not ethical. That's why we have this concept called ethical. And you should know in a clear level, nothing is ethical. So you can't even maintain that. If you're quote unquote ethical, you wouldn't be here, right? It's just consciously we know like that's not a thing. But if you know that, right, if you know this is flawed, like this reality is, I mean, heavy manipulation. Like you mentioned before with Dark City and those underground archonic influences with those little minions and people, heavy manipulation with the administrative element of this movie, The Running Man. Again, they were manipulating the film recording of different things. You know, they wanted Arnold in the movie. His name is Ben Richards. Ben Richards. They wanted him to look like a bad guy, so that the crowd could, you know, roar up against them. And there's an energy element with that too. You know, I didn't put in the movies here Monsters Inc., but there's an esoteric symbolism there too, with how there's a certain energy extraction with the scream, with the roar, the yelling, right? So they wanted Ben Richards, Arnold, to be portrayed as an evil, bad guy, right? Because of course, in this case, with the entertainment value, they're going to get more money, right? When they're more happy and roaring, crowding, and yelling against him, you know, to die. He's supposed to die in the movie, but you know, as you know, he's not going to. He's gonna fucking, you know, do his shit against this archonic force that was played against him in the system. But yeah, that's it for the Gnosis. He's like the Gnostic Redeemer. He's the spiritual warrior. He has, of course, his, you know, side chick. There's always that, you know, feminine, masculine element oftentimes with these shows or movies. I mean, what was her name? Is it Amber? Let me see. But yeah, there's often that, you know, love dynamic that they have. So yeah, you know, they have that redeemer trying to redeem, you know, themselves from this fallen reality. And from there, they are trying to escape the game. So from there, they're trying to also expose the administrative, just like we're trying to expose the demiurge, and that's, you can say, level of administrative cosmic influence on reality. Because again, with the editing of footage that they were doing, making people try to be ignorant to the actual reality. Ben Richards, our guy Arnold here, was trying to put people privy and letting them know, like, yo, what you guys are being promoting and a part of is it's fucked up. It is honestly fucked up. And so he's trying to, escape that reality, escape that game setting, and then expose the truth. They had a particular group of people, I forgot their name, that were trying to also be about taking down that administrative game company. I forgot the name of this even game. I guess it was called The Running Man, I guess. But yeah, there was a group organization within that actual like setting in the game that they have whatever like underground area, and they were waiting on someone like an Arnold. They talk about the primordial force. They're waiting on niggas like us, to come in and have that ascent that we're trying to do. So yeah, exposing the truth, right? Was that. And the antinatalist element is simple. I mean, obviously, you don't want to fucking have to put somebody in any such possibility of being exploited. It's just clear as day, being used as a spectacle. Imagine that. And whether you like to know it or not, that's the case with reality. There's terms like humiliation rituals, when certain celebrities are placed out to do very unfortunate and you can say embarrassing things. But honestly, working is embarrassing. Having to work for somebody else, having to pay taxes, that's a humiliation ritual, let alone this fucking show and the thing that these two had to go through, let alone the other characters in the show that they had to go through. But life is a humiliation ritual. So why would you put somebody in that? It's just there was a certain level within the level in the movie where this game setting was just so fucked up, the manipulation going on. So yeah, there was a resistance against it, and Arnold was the leading force against the makeup of that show, trying to reveal the spectacle for the fabrication that it was. So yeah. Let me see. My boy Shy said, "Great catch with Monsters Inc. Freemasonic and Archonic refugees galore." Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, that one, man. I watched it back not long ago. But yeah, it's funny how they put it in the kids shows, right? Kid movies. With a lot of those Disney, was it DreamWorks? I forgot who. I don't think it was DreamWorks. I forgot Pixar. I think that was Pixar. Picatrix. Yeah, but yeah, I feel you, Shy. My boy Clairvoyant, no lie. Yeah, The Running Man. It was a good movie though. But yeah, heavy Gnostic. You're just trying to escape. You know what I mean? But from there, he wasn't just trying to do that. He was trying to expose this shit, just like how we should. Yeah, Pixar. Just like we were trying to expose this reality, and whoever the fuck has the ear to hear it. And from there, they can do more than us. You know what I mean? I always mention I'm oftentimes just a preacher, messenger in this current archetype that I'm in. But there's niggas out here that I know, if they hear certain things in certain ways, physically, they can do some hot shit hotter than me. You know what I mean? We're all just doing what we can on the team. You know what I mean? It's like we're all like whether basketball, football, hockey, soccer, baseball, we're all different positions, but you got to play your part. You know what I mean? You should be compelled to do something is a lot of this. You know what I mean? Talking about the untapped, go within, you know what I mean? Feel what you have. We all have that meditative force, let alone that the entropy force is something more than even you doing physically on a clear level. You know what I mean? But there's clearly things you can do physically too. Don't get that twisted. And it's just using any approach. You know what I mean? Just like Erwin from before. Let me tell you, be sure, Shangao, you put back up the one video that we recently watched with Erwin from that one guy. Oh my God, that video. Oh my, I think they just put it up like a day ago. That guy really did a great job creating that video of how Erwin, my God, I'm gonna put it even right now while I'm talking about The Running Man. Let's see, I'm gonna pull it up on another window, then I'll That video was it, bro. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up on a. I think I had it saved somewhere because I want to timestamp real quick. It's a good type of a point here to mention. Let me pull up who it was that had created a recent video going into just how Irwin. I mean, this motherfucker had balls of steel. I mean, my God, nothing got to the man. He was just all about his mission, nothing else. Let me see if I'm able to pull him up here. I think I got him. I'm gonna link it here in a moment. This guy is it, man. Let me see if I can. I'm not going to play it per se. I just want to show the thumbnail, and it's actually that similar picture that I showed before. So I want to link it in the video once it gets up, and I do the whole whatever timestamp stuff. But balls in a can. He recently posted just a day ago. Genuinely the most badass human ever. Erwin Commander Smith. Great video. If you watch Attack on Titan, you're gonna even more so appreciate the video. It made me reminisce a lot because I have not watched season 1 and 2 since I watched it for the first time. So he really outlines very well those first 2 seasons, especially because that's when Erwin was doing his shit. And so a great video that I'll link, but of course you see it here that you can put it on your watch later or whatever.
Humanity has had numerous
not yet, bro. But yeah, great video. I just wanted to mention real quick there while we were finishing up the Running Man. But yeah, let's get into another type of man. We had another movie, Demolition Man. Oh man. Let me pull up I just like showing, a little cover art image, not just talking about it, just so that, further with the, the artwork, there's a clear intention that they're putting with the different artwork here. So let me pull up this one here for the Demolition Man, our boy Wesley Snipes. Oh man, they really try to use the brother for a different force, but Demolition Man, this was a cool movie. I enjoyed how it was futuristic. It's interesting because they made it, I think it was 2032. 2032 was the year that they were in, and we're not that far off from there. What is it now? 2026. So not far off from the year 2032. So it was interesting just seeing how they were making it look had it been in the year 2032. Simon Phoenix. Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Let me put it out for the screen for anyone that watches this video. Simon Phoenix. Okay. I've been looking at a lot of Phoenix representation. I mean, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, so I know a lot with that Phoenix and the Kundalini, the resurrection, talk about the Gnosis, get me the fuck out of here type vibe, flying the fuck. I'll check that out, Shy. I appreciate you with that. And the prior, I forgot who mentioned it, with Dark Crystal. I think that was Ass Crack. And I know that's not your full name. When I see your name, I think just Ass Crack. So I'm gonna check that one out too. But yeah, appreciate you, Shy, with the Oh yeah, no. Okay, yeah, his name was Simon Phoenix. I'm tripping. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, and I thought that was interesting to your point. Yeah. That was so interesting how even the term Simon, Simon Says, and just because he was being used as a tool. Let me pull up sometimes I gotta pull up the cast because I didn't make a whole name of each different character name. I was like, let me just when I'm doing this, I can pull up the cast names pretty easily. There was a certain who's an architecture, Chief George Earl. Chief George Earl was a lot of that demiurgic force, and he was using Simon Phoenix, my boy Wesley Snipes there on the right, and his abilities and his gang, his ruthless criminal gang, to try to, because there was a certain underground force, similar to the one prior movie we mentioned with the Running Man. and how there was an underground force in that game environment setting that was trying to expose the game company and the manipulation they were imposing to the public. Here in this movie, keep saying show when it's a movie. This movie, they had heavy antinatalist influence, similar with the platform. You know, there's a certain scene in the show where our guy here on the left, his name is John Spartan Sylvester Stallone. He was going to a dinner and he got to realize, like, yo, there's a lot of people out here that are not surviving, barely surviving. They're deprived of food. You know what I mean? He got to get connected to, man, I don't remember his name. Maybe it's this guy here, Edgar Friendly. Let me see if I'm able to. But he got connected to the main kind of character leader of the underground gang. And they were just trying to get more fairness, equity. You know, they weren't even trying to eradicate existence. They were just trying to eradicate the current hierarchy and the social ladder with the structure of the society and the people that were maintaining it under Chief George Earl. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of him, the chief, and how he was the demiurge force. Okay, that's the police officer. Hold up. Who was that one nigga? Hold up. Man, let me see if I can expand this window on this other side. There was a one chief particular person. Let me pull up Firefox in this other window. That was like the mayor. This nigga here. Wasn't it this nigga? Yeah. It wasn't Nigel Hawthorne, Dr. Raymond. Oof, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Let me pull up him here. I want to be sure I got his name right. What was this nigga's name? Yeah, Dr. Raymond. Yeah, okay, Nigel. We put up Dr. Raymond. So this is the demiurgic force. I mean, you can just see it with the fucking symbolism they're putting with our guy here. I mean, what the fuck? So clearly, this is a great picture. Here we go. Showcasing how he was using our boy Simon. I mean, my boy Simon, man, he was out here not even taking names. He was just trying to kick ass. I mean, he was a pain in the ass to Sylvester, John Spartan in the movie. They initially were in the year like 1990s or some shit, and they were fighting. And during that fight, he made it that he was distracting John Sylvester from saving the people that they were trying to save for the police force John was a part of at that time. And because he was kind of distracting him, there was people that died and that were really murdered and fucked up due to the incompetency of John. So he was placed in a prison kind of cell and was, whatchamacall, frozen for like 30 plus years or some shit. And so they came into the year 2032, as you can tell by this current picture. That was the timeline at this point in the movie. And that's when John got, you can say, resurrected because my boy Simon, talk about resurrected with the Phoenix. He got resurrected too. And when he got out of that fucking cell, he came out. He wasn't even taking names. He was just kicking ass because he was trying to, have his own fun. And he was very similar in a sense to the Matthew McConaughey with Dark Tower. He had his own posse, just like in the one movie, Dark Tower, Matthew McConaughey. He was Walter in that movie. He just wanted to have his own mini realm of fun and fucking around, even though he knew this was fucked up. When you look at the different points that he put in this movie too, with Wesley Snipes playing as Simon Phoenix. But yeah, in terms of going further into the Gnostic element, man, I would say first, this show was heavily antinatalism because this is one of those similar with Dark Tower where the Gnosis is more than what they're going to show you in a sense. Like you're going to see the Gnostic element because all it is ultimately is the flawed construct. Our boy here, or this Dr. Raymond, he's trying to maintain this civilization as so proper. I mean, talk about, what we mentioned with the archonic influence. the governing, restriction, the rules. You can't even curse. When John gets resurrected from being in the cell and frozen for all those decades, he has all his different mannerisms. As we know, the 90s was a different time, even from now compared to the 90s. Those are different people. And so coming to this reality where everything was so politically correct, and it comes to the point that you get fined, literally penalized for just saying certain phrases. They can't even have sex. Who was it? The Sandra Bullock is the one lover of this movie. She is can't even pronounce her name, but there came to a point where she was like, "Yo, we're gonna have sex," and this is the position they put on a certain fucking device on their head, and they're gonna just have neurological fucking stimulation, and that's it. Nothing physical. Again, with just the level of restriction is all that's supposed to let you know. And when it came to actual physical things, she's like, "Wow, that's what y'all did back then." Okay, I get why it was addicting. Yeah, very addicting and conflicting. But yeah, the Gnosis principle is just that. You see the restriction, you see the lack of fairness. I forgot the name of the group that was underground, but you'll see it if you watch the movie. There was this underground group that came up during the middle of the movie. There was a scene where, again, John was going to a dinner to see that doctor, the architecture. And they were just trying to manipulate John. But Dr. Raymond, essentially, he wanted to maintain a certain state. He didn't like the underground people because they wanted more freedom, just to be frank. And they didn't like the orchestration of things that were being imposed upon the citizens in this society. And John, being that he was from the 90s, right, he had that similar spark in a sense, you can say. And so once he saw like, yeah, no, this way of living is not it. You know what I mean? He was trying to get back into the other way of living. So he was trying to kind of reverse this process, but he wasn't going all the way. Unfortunately, vortex. Yeah, that's a certain term that they were. Yeah. But yeah, this is an interesting one, similar like the movie The Dark Tower. They didn't go all the way. They make John seem one way or the other. John's not just all bad or good. You see the Gnostics, can't even say words now. I've been talking for over almost 3 hours. You see the Gnostic element with him. He has a certain spark. He's able to realize a certain flawed construct with this reality. You know what I mean? And from there, he's trying to make things better. Talk about he's trying to bind with the underground, because he sees the fucked upness that's being imposed, the different things that they had to eat, the way they got to dress and everything. It's all fabricated. And again, there's a lack of freedom in it. So he definitely fucks and empathize with the underground. There was a point where, when you'll see in the movie, he goes underground. He's like, yo, this is actually pretty cool. It's like, wow, you guys have meat? We can eat meat? Man, you get the point. Like, it's just because we're humans, man. I hate to say it, but like, the issue is like someone like the doctor guy. Let me go back to him. The issue with people like him, they understand a lot of the flawed realities with, reality in and of itself, but they're trying to create their own reality on top of it. And that's the issue, because you're still trying to create. Okay. And so, as we know, as anti-natalist, cosmic, anti-cosmic voidists, we know the issue with creation that's going to cause problems. Okay. Just to be frank. Okay. So if you're trying to create more creations on top of a creation, there's going to be more problems on top of problems, just to be frank, for how I can put it just very simply. So in this case, when he tries to create his own society within a society, there's going to be people in the society that aren't going to fuck with his own vision of this creation. And so that's the Gnostic premise with Demolition Man. You know what I mean? You're going to feel a lot of emotional ties to those underground comrades and John and Simon, on all different levels. You know what I mean? You're going to, the real architecture is this guy. He has a little sidekick, this little munchkin-esque nigga. This isn't that good of a quality picture, but you see that's his little co-partner, but this is the main dude, as you can see with his whiteness and how they're trying to make him so glowy and angelic. But yeah, it's a good movie. Very funny. Something about those 90s movies. But again, in terms of the antinatalist element, just again, similar like the THX 138, and the lack of emotional bonding in that initial movie I mentioned. There's a similar structure in this society too. You know, they can't even have physical sex. And we get it. We understand just like they understand the cost and the consequence, but they're just trying to control their reality for their way they want to maintain it. But yeah, the messiness too of it. You know, the order was fucked up. But let me talk about Simon Phoenix, because I mean, I live in the city Phoenix, so I thought his character was interesting. I have a certain point here. So Simon Phoenix, he represents human destructiveness. So in the old world, if you watch the initial part of the movie, again, he's just trying to destroy whatever he can destroy. And in this world, he's just trying to do the same shit, but now he's being incentivized to do it due to this Dr. Raymond. I'm not even going to pronounce his last name. But that's a representation of reality, okay? Simon Phoenix, like we know with even the term Phoenix, fire. There's a destructive force with fire, really, right? Burn. You know, you're playing with fire, with reality, right? So even the term Simon, again, like how Simon says, he's having to do what this nigga is saying because he gets a lot of incentive. He's gonna get a lot of, oh, if you do this, if you kill John Spartan, you know, you're gonna get, you know, so there's a manipulation tactic with this archonic element that they're showing as well that can get used. You know, there's a lot of people, you talk about what people say, selling your soul and other shit. There's a certain representation with that. The Phoenix represents a lot of the soul, so I think that's interesting. And that's what happens in the movie. He gets, you know, he sells. He sells. You know, he doesn't just destroy all of reality. He just wants to kill John Spartan because of the benefit it's going to have with him. But again, the world is destructive inherently, and Simon Phoenix is a representation of that. It's just, you know, for how we know things, you know, given not destruction in and of itself, because cosmically that's good to try to wipe out this existence. The issue is that, you know, people like Simon can be used for a certain level of destruction and not it within of itself, trying to eradicate everything. You know, when it gets composed within the vision of a Dr. Raymond, again, it gets manipulated. It gets within a certain illusion. But yeah, there's a lot more I can say, but man, let me continue, man. We got honestly this second half that we're gonna get into a lot of, I mean, everything. I love all these movies in a clear level, but I haven't gotten to a lot of great other movies and shows and shit yet. And damn, it's a 3-hour portion. This little bunch of ass nigga. I'm not gonna hold you. I may have to do a part 2 now that I'm thinking about it, because I have not really. I think I can pull it off. It's not too much. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yo, I bit off more than I can chew, guys. Damn. I got like 8 more, damn more. I appreciate it. Say you cooking. I need some encouragement. Because, man, I haven't even drank water or some shit, as you can tell by now. I got my water bottle here. Let me take a sip. My goodness. Appreciate you, Shy. No, I'm going to keep going. I ain't got nothing going on. This is what I live for. Shit, what else am I living for? The fuck? So, yeah, let's keep going. This one movie, let me tell you. Can I get at least say yes or no? Because I haven't deliberately stated this, because I'm at least interested. So I'm going to say this going forward with whatever else movie shows that we're going to talk about. So for this next one, I think it's pronounced Synecdoche. Oof, my God, these terms. Oh man, if you've watched this or if you haven't, at least say some shit. I'm trying to know, because this movie I thought was fascinating. Very interesting movie. Let me see. What's a good cover art I can mention real quick. This one's cool. It's not that clear. Let me find one that's more clear. Let me type in movie cover, movie poster. Boo, 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 boo. Let's see. This one's all right. Yeah, we'll do this one for right now. Go up. All right, Synecdoche. Nope. Nope, you didn't watch it. That's cool. That's cool. This was this was an interesting one because it has obvious anti-natalist ties. When you're watching a show like this, that's, as you can see, in a sense, clearly based in our reality. It's not like Demolition Man, where you have all this futuristic things or all these other type of movies. Like it's very normal in our reality type shit. It's nothing too like sci-fi type shit. So the anti-natalist elements is easy to get into. But I want to mention some of the Gnosis, because the main character of the show, man, well, let me pull up the cast name so I can just get into his name here easily. I mean, you already saw the dude. His real name, Philip Hoffman. He goes by Caden in the movie. He's his own kind of demiurgic creator, because he's a director. You know, he's a screenwriter, a playwright. He's a visionary. You know what I mean? And he initially has an initial play that he puts out, and it does very well. And from that, he gets some type of grant sum of money to be used for another play, for another screenplay, for him to orchestrate. And because of that, he got really in his own head. And he was like, man, this got to be perfect, this, that, the fourth. So again, similar like with the Demiurge, false creator, you know, this guy, you know, for Caden, he's just so fixed, again, like the Demiurge. You got to think, man. Okay, my boy Shanghao mentioned that. I remember I listened to one of your streams and I was like, you made such a great point, because this is it. You should feel kind of bad, feel kind of sorry for the Demiurge. It's like, wow, you were so lonely, you know, you were so, how can I say, just sad in a sense, you know. Talk about one of the movies we're going to get to with the melancholia, I can't even pronounce that. Sad, you know, melancholy, you know, that, you know, you're trying to create, because honestly, creation is of us, is sorry. I'm sorry, but it's sorry ass shit to try to create, honestly, because that's something's not right. And so now you're trying to create others and more beings than things, because your current state isn't good. And see, we're not no better in the sense that we realize it too. You know, we see the faultiness too, but we're not trying to impose such, you know what I mean, and make another copy of a copy. But this is what our guy here, Caden, is doing. You know, when you see this movie, this is why I wanted to show this type of cover art here, because in the movie, you know, the next play that he looks to do is a representation of New York. You know, like you'll see it. There's a certain theater that he gets, and it's a big ass theater, but it's dirty as shit. So he was given a lot of money, and for whatever reason, he just thought that he wanted to make a simulation. To be frank, there's a one, I think, book series, Simulacrum. And again, just a copy of a copy, simulation of a sim. This motherfucker has himself as like the main character, okay? And it gets to a point that he hires somebody, because he's like, okay, I can't do it. I need to have, you know, he's a director. But then he hires somebody else to play him. It's just another copy of a copy of it. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. And each time it gets further within a lower scale of things, you just see how it gets more fucked up, and the lack of freedom, and how, I mean, how flawed, this is a great term, is flawed the creation is. But that's the thing, he's kind of trying to represent the flawedness of reality. It is pathetic. I mean, the dude, oh my gosh, Shai, let me put this so again, like people see this when it's Videos up. But yeah, it's very sad. I mean, the dude is sad. Let me tell you, his wife is Adele in the movie. Let me pull her up real quick. She, because one of the movie posters that I put up initially, there was like petals, like this one right here, where I got my mouse. She's an artist, and so they're they both have their own artistry going on. But let me tell you, she she wasn't fucking with Caden, the main character. What's a good picture I can show? I'll just show her here. She wasn't fucking with her husband, Caden. They had a child together. Her name was Olive, and they were doing therapy. There was that one therapist I saw her a moment ago here. The therapist's name was I don't even remember the name. I remember to pull up. Let's see, Madeline. This is a kind of therapist, psychologist that Caden goes to. Initially, he goes to her with his wife, Adele. But again, let me finish up with Adele. So Adele's bi. She, I don't know how, my boy Caden, he gets like at least two different chicks. If not technically, you can already see with the therapist how close she is and the body language. She kind of gives off a certain something to him too. The boy was getting ass, okay? No, he got even more than that. He got like 3-4 chicks in the movie. Like, I was like, wow. I mean, the dude is gross, okay? Let me tell you, the dude there was a scene real quick that I can go before I get more into the Gnosis. There was a scene that he was brushing his teeth, and then he used the same toothbrush to clean the damn floor. I was like, yo, this dude was gross. I mean, he just started to get so many different human defecation type of his body was like deteriorating, bro. I mean, he was dying. I mean, you'll see in the show or movie, keep saying show. I mean, it is a show, it's just, these movies are you'll see in the movie that he doesn't finish the movie yet. I mean, the play that he's trying to create, he's so adamant and so fixed on trying to make it of a certain orchestration that it gets so dragged out. I mean, everyone gets so older. It's decades that passed because he's just so trying to create a perfect reality of this, and that's very, again, demiurgic type shit with how they're, trying to have us play around for their fucking entertainment. But yeah, let me get into that simulation element of things. Because, with how we've been mentioning a lot with the loss of identity, when you're always creating another copy of a copy of a copy of it, it's like, okay, where's the soul per se? You get my point. Where's the actual identity? Because at this point, when, you're kind of getting stripped away from your own actual creation, then it's like, what are we really talking about? And so even for this demiurge type of influence, similar like on any scale, so our boy Caden, it comes to a point where he actually is removed from the direction of the play. He kind of, what's the term? Defers. He pushes his artistic position in the making of the screenplay to another person that he hired. He hired her for something completely else. She was supposed to be like a janitor, but then she gets used as the I think her name is Millicent, which is interesting. Millicent, that I see here on the cast and Google Images. She gets used as the future director because he's like, okay, I think I'm just tapped out. I really have, what's the term, squeezed out a lot of my creative juices, and there's not really much more. I think at this point I'm becoming a detriment, negative asset. And so Millicent's like, yo, I've been peeping you, this, that, the fourth. I know you better than you at this point. Let me, do your vision how I see it. So I thought that was interesting. Just the loss of identity. We saw that again with THX. I mentioned that, I believe, a bit with other movies and stuff, but you'll see that with this movie and this element of existence. The more that you create, even just, if I were to have a son or daughter, you know what I mean? Just like, you guys may have not, I don't even want to pull up this. I'm going to pull it up, whatever. There's this one pro-extinctionism channel. Pro-extinctionism. Am I able to pull it up? Yeah, I think I got it here. So there's this one guy, and on a certain level, I fuck with him on a certain level. But does he even still have that video up? I don't think he does. I think he took it down. Interesting. Or maybe I'm not on the right channel per se. Yeah, I think it was a different channel. Ooh, I forgot the name. Ooh, I don't know if I have the link anymore. It was in our Discord. I'll try to see if I can pull it up. But he had a particular video where he was talking about basically not being against antinatalism, that, you know, humanity is the solution to resolving suffering. And so, in part, with not being against antinatalism, he wants to promote humanity. Let me put him back on the screen so that the symbolism is there. So he has another channel. I don't know which channel it is. I'm not going to try to pull it up right now. Let me just talk a little bit about him. Because again, with the creative element, not he wants to be against antinatalism because, you know, humanity, you know, we can solve problems and we can. But see, this is again with the loss of identity. You understand how you identify yourself to the problem, right? This guy's trying to eradicate existence, just like us, right? So you can vibe with him on that level. But he wants to place theoretically a future son or daughter of himself or whoever else. Even if he doesn't do it, he's promoting it for other people to do it because he wants to, again, have humanity try to save the world type shit. But again, with the loss of identity, going back to the creative element, as you can see here in the movie Synecdoche, New York. I mean, my boy Caden is just getting so old at a certain point. Because you lose yourself. You lose yourself in your children. You lose yourself in these future lineage. I appreciate you, Shinga, for posting that. I'm gonna. Can I copy that? I don't know if I can copy that. Shit. I don't know if I can copy it on the. Let me see. There's 3 different. I'll figure out a way because you sent that. I'm a definitely pull up the video now because I gotta play the video. Then we'll get back to this Synecdoche, New York. You know, I have it on our messages too on the other thing. Let me pull it up that way too. I think he sent it there. And let's see. Brave. Yeah, I want to, because the first half of this video, it was nice. It was nice. Then from there, it was some bullshit. All right, I got it pulled out. Let me copy it here. Just showing his channel again. So this one is UniversalExtinction. So he's clearly about our vibe. As you see him here, you know, this is bigger than any of us. I'm not just trying to show him as in any type of negative light in a per se. This is tactics, this, that, the fourth. And I'm trying to just, again, represent something more than any one of us. So I'm gonna play this video. Again, it's not trying to attack him or anything. It's just looking at the message. I'm not attacking the messenger. You guys know I'm more than that. But again, this is similar, connecting to the movie Synecdoche, New York, with this creative ability and how you get lost in the sauce with it because you can't control it in a sense. There's a sense of a chaotic force in all of this different creative elements when it comes to humans. You know what I mean? It's not just this AI shit that's a robot that you can fucking dictate, oh, you're going to do this. You're going to be this entropy force and you're going to do all this destructive you can't program humans like that per se, at least now. So again, you're going to listen here. Let me just play it.
Normal people who realize that suffering is too extreme and terrible to allow. If you think every life is happy to be born here, then you are severely mistaken. Sadly, over 99% of life born on Earth, if you include animals, die painfully during their childhood. They get no childhood. They experience horrors which are beyond imagination, like being eaten alive. Extreme physical and mental diseases torture the unfortunate. Baby animals are eaten alive by multiple predators. The number of ways in which poor, innocent creatures are being tortured in this world is virtually unlimited. Existence is a curse, not a blessing. That is why we must work to provide the ultimate good, 100% safety from suffering and from being forced into existence. Just think how many victims who will suffer for billions of more years if we don't put an end to this madness. So we are forming a serious and practical organization to change, though. It's not just to...
So I'm gonna pause with that real quick before, I think it was around the 1.5 minute mark. But so far, so good. You know, suffering that bad. Okay, let's do something about it. Cool, cool. Okay, so let's hear more about what they're talking about.
Well, it requires action from all of us. Together, we can build a better future. We must first cause total extinction for all animal life to end their suffering. We must also investigate life among the stars. The universe could be full of victims that need our help. Therefore, we are against suicide, self-harm, and antinatalism.
So hold up. So right there, that's now the turn up happens. So against suicide. Listen, if niggas want to go, you can't be like, oh no, you got to stay here for us. No, you shouldn't force, again, with the archonic, the control governing over people. That I'm not about that. You know what I mean? You should feel compelled to do certain things, but you shouldn't feel compelled to force people to have. People are going to do whatever they do. You know, you can't control people in that sense. If anything, you should eliminate any, such sad reality that they're in, right? As we know. But this whole element of, oh, if people want to exit, no. Who said that? Says who? You know what I mean? Like, well, let's, if they want to gracefully exit, give them that opportunity. What are we talking about? So when I saw that, I was just like, at least explain yourself more, because that doesn't, and again, with the antinatalist element that he mentioned, just as you saw, no. Because again, our future son or daughter, just like the veganism concept, you can't guarantee that they're not gonna do what they're a whole other entity now. You can't just, they're going to not eat meat. You can't, guarantee that at all. They can eat more meat than the next guy, so oh man, I mean, they're gonna get further into it a little bit, but you heard it right there. Not against antinatalism, or against antinatalism, against euthanasia, assisted means to exit. And that don't make sense. I think this other part, Shingal, I know you mentioned he meant to put it, and I get you, because you guys are going to listen, anyone here and watching this, there's a certain part where I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense.
Humanity is the vehicle for helping others. Humanity is the solution, not the problem. Our species must stay strong until we have finished helping as many life forms as physically possible. This is our duty and our purpose. Intelligence must be used for good. Reducing suffering is good, but not if it is at the cost of ending suffering.
All right, so I'm gonna end it right there. So I don't know if he knew that. It doesn't make sense. I don't know if you guys just heard that. I mean, they said reducing suffering is good, but not at the cost of ending suffering. What?
For purpose. Intelligence must be used for good. Reducing suffering is good, but not if it is at the cost of ending suffering.
All right. So again, I'm going to try to give him grace, because it's like, how the fuck? You can't tell me that you're about what you're about, and then you say something like that. But it could be telling, because again, with the antinatalist trying to, not promote that in the, pro-mortalism type of level to assisted means of euthanasia, those type of things. Why would you say that? I don't know. So when I saw that video, I don't know, maybe one day I'll look to connect to them, and just because I always if you're of a similar essence with where I'm at and not necessarily aligned, because I come from the sense that I try to really understand and connect. Like, it takes a lot for me to say like no on somebody that's of a similar essence with where we're coming from. But because I posted another video from him on my channel. If I were to go to my channel here, I posted one of the videos where it was like, they were going on in and on Amendum. They're like the new generation. Amendum's like, he listen, Amendum, he did a lot of talk back in the day when no one was talking, respect where respect is accredited. But now it's like, okay, you got some younger minds, and they're like, yo, what can we actually do than just talk all the time? And Amendum's like, oh, but you need to have the democratic, similar points that we mentioned before with the pastoring with Rita. this video was good, and so I was like, yo, this is a good channel. And then I see this other thing. I don't know. We need more clarification, because that was a bit disappointing to see that. But let's get back into Synecdoche and put that back up on the screen. Let's see, so that I can know the timestamp more easier. Let's see. I got it still there. Here it is. But yeah, let me tell you, I mean, the dude again is trying to create. Let me tell you, where's that other character? So as you see here, like I mentioned, he had somebody play himself. He had somebody play this is his main chick after he got basically divorced in a sense. His one prior wife, Adele, she moved over to like Europe. She became a really well-off painter and some shit. And Adele, was like, fuck him. And so, at some point, you had to move on. And so he moved on to this chick here. And again, with how he was trying to kind of recreate his reality, he had people play them. And it came to the point that he had other people play them within another smaller layer. And again, that's just, again, with this creative ability, demiurge type thing. It's similar to us. There's different layers to our reality. That's why people say we have a higher conscious spiritual self and all these different fucking terms. It's similar, it's just like, what is all these different created things? Let's just fucking eradicate it. Because what are we really talking about? What are we really doing? We're just fixing problems, honestly. So yeah, I think Synecdoche was a fascinating concept in that respect, because the main character is a lot of that demiurgic element. In these other movies, it was like a villain, it was some type of side character or system structure. But here in this movie, and especially too how it's a modern twist of things, and the playwriting, because of all this, that's why I've been talking about these movies and whatnot. Our life is a story. So there's that, level of a storytelling. Talk about, even this season of Pisces and stuff like that, the visionary. There's a level of storytelling, with this cosmos, logos, and it's fucked up, to put it frank. But in the movie, you'll see, again, he has all these different health conditions. He has to go to the doctor multiple different times. Man, I mean, the dude is going through it. I can't even describe. I forgot what condition he had in particular, but he was gonna die. I mean, you see him, he's aging, because in this term, it was his own suffering that he was imposing. He just couldn't fucking get the fucking screenplay to just finish. But yeah, it's just all the decay. You're gonna see a lot of decay. Even the child unfortunately had to, pass away. And he felt so bad because he didn't really get involved too much in her latter years, but she was so very young, to pass away while he is still existing. No, mother or father wants to see their child go away like that, but that's what happened. It's just sad, and the way that she passed on in the medical bed in the one scene, it was just very unfortunate. But it's clear as day. I mean, again, it's very similarly portrayed to our livelihood. So it's easy with antinatalism. That's why I'm more so trying to harp on the certain Gnostic element, because that hits more of the subconscious when you get into the Gnostic premise. Antinatalism is more physically stated with why you're not physically putting people here. But the Gnosis, like my boy Shango here with the Mythos, when people talk about the term mythology, and, it's not real. No, these are archetypes. They're supposed to represent something more than what meets the eye, because that's what we all are. We're all different ideas, fusion of different ideas and archetypes from our parents and anything from before our parents and such forth. So it's, again, with the subconscious, you got to hit more than just the antinatalist point. But that's an important point too, because if not, if you go within that element, we wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? If you go into that energy for why that's significant physically, you gotta bring it down back to earth to a certain level. So yeah, that was Synecdoche. I know we kind of talked a little bit about other things in the midst of it, but we'll continue on. So let me talk about things that I have watched, because I was going to talk about Genesis, Neon Genesis, but I have never watched that anime, so I'm not going to, because I did not go into Raised by Wolves as good as I wanted to. So let me just get into different things that I did watch. Let's see. There's still a few more. Let's see. You have The Lobster. Let me talk about that movie. It's a good movie to talk about following this Synecdoche that we just went into. So The Lobster. This is a recent kind of movie, not really, about a decade ago. We got our boy Colin Farrell playing David. What's a good picture? Let's see. It's a good picture. There's so many different images with movies. Let's do this one. The Lobster. So again, the demiurge, Gnostic, control, restriction, limitation. With this movie, The Lobster, there's that. They're placed in this one hotel where, very similar to THX, emotional bonding in this case is still given, but it's still very restricted. And like how we mentioned with like the Gnostic premise and how it sets the environment. The environment in terms of this realm is really for that, in terms of the demiurgic force, is the hotel that they're placed in, that he accepts to be placed in. Let me tell you that. And again, the staff there, the different administrative employees, like they're wanting to have, whether if you're not with somebody, you're supposed to eventually couple up and pair up with somebody. And you're supposed to have like a certain unique bond trait. There's this one character, let me see, I'm just going to type nosebleed. There's this one character that gets connected to somebody because they have a relation with Nosebleed. Now he fakes his. He doesn't actually nosebleed. I think in this scene, he hits himself on the desk just to further like get mentally attuned to, like, I had to fake my nosebleed and try to do it on cue in a certain level so that I can, show that I'm, like, this is why I'm with this chick. Because again, you have to have a bonding, unique trait to then kind of escape and move on with your life and do some other shit. Because that's all why they're even there. They're trying to, in a sense, pair bond and whatnot. But it's definitely forced. So it's, just like how we're not about any force in many respects, with this archonic force of the different staff that they have. That's what's going on. They are trying to do, you can say, a good term is artificial lovemaking. So again, very similar to the movie we went to, THX 1138. I thought, again, similar with how the surveillance that they do and the just how things are, again, the term artificial really puts it. Because again, the dude fakes his fucking a nosebleed. Imagine trying to get with somebody so bad, you're going to bleed yourself out like that. It's crazy. And in terms of the main character, our boy Colin Farrell, he gets played by David. His pair, let me see, because he gets in a later pair in the movie, as you see with some of these different pictures. But he had an initial person. I'm trying to see if I can pull her up. Man, what was her name? I think I can pull her up here. Was she the loner? No, I don't think she was the loner. But initially, he was trying to fake his pairing too, Colin. So as you see here, this is his dog. And his prior mate killed his dog. And this prior mate of his that he paired up with, she was like cold stone. She had no emotion. And she basically killed his dog as a test because he tried to be of this similar persona, again, with the artificial bonding. And how this, honestly, to connect it to this world, it does that. Let me tell you, this is why I say I haven't been in a relationship, this, that, the fourth. because I don't really connect with people like that. This is why, I mean, with the shit that we be talking about and whatnot, like, I mean, who the fuck? Very, very few and far between would really appreciate what I'm saying. Um, and so it's like you have to fake it till you make it. So David was just trying to, get with somebody. So he, matched with somebody that he thought was going to be easy, I guess. I don't know. She was just like how you're seeing here in this one scene. She was, how can I say, a great sniper, a great shooter. Again, stone cold. And she killed his dog again for a test. She wanted to see if he's really that stone cold, and he tried to fake it still. And when he found out that she killed his dog, and it was like a new morning when he woke up and he was brought that news by her. He's like, "Yeah, I killed your dog," and he was trying to like fake it, like, "Oh yeah, that doesn't mean anything." He goes to the bathroom, and then he, starts to get a bit emotional. And then she peeps that. She goes in and is like, okay, I knew you were fucking lying, this, that, the fourth. And then, she tries to essentially get him in trouble, with the archonic forces and whatnot. That's the one scene I think I saw it before with the elevator or the door. I'm not sure if I'm able to pull it back up. But he kills her, or at least in terms of, this is her right here. Because he was about to get in trouble. This maid here actually helped him out. And so she was like, yo, you got to kill me too, because if not, I can be used against you. And then at that point, he became a loner. He went away from the hotel, this, that, the fourth. But yeah, it's again, a lot of forced coupling, very similar to THX. And then from there, like he was clearly looking to do, as you can see, he's looking to try to escape at this point, because at this point, he can't just stay in there. And then from there, he gets in to a different type of loner group. And then from there, even there was different forces and rules and, restrictions. After he, wasn't fucking with the bond that he had there, he gets into this one person that he matches in this one loner group he gets connected to. But even there, they're not supposed to have any emotional bonds. I don't know why, but whatever leader, what's her name? Her name is just Loner Leader. Oh man, she like, that's one of the main rules. Like, it's like, yo, we are not gonna have any emotion, because they're traumatized from the prior hotel regime of things, and so they're trying to have their own way, and they're not about any love making, love matching. So this movie just does a great representation on just, again, the archonic force of the restriction, limitation. In this case with the love binding, in many respects. And yeah, forced coupling, just like how in many respects this society, this world kind of forces you to try to play a certain part to get something. You know what I mean? When it comes to trying to get another significant other, people are playing a certain personality, playing a facade, playing a character, to get with people, So I just thought this movie was interesting in that type of light. And even on the other side, again, with this side, with the loners, it's like, oh, because you're a loner, you have to do this, that, the fourth. It's like, no, like, be your own self with the originality. You know what I mean? Don't lose your identity in this mess on any side. There's a lot of, again, forcing of things, and me, I'm not about that at all. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting, and just trying to escape that. It gets unfortunate because she gets honestly jealous. Let me say that it seems she gets jealous. The one picture I had from before between David and his lover here that he has at the end, it gets to the point that she gets blinded. That loner leader blinds this chick. She's I think she's literally just called short-sighted. The character names are crazy. But she blinds her because she's starting to peep, like, yo, they're really bonding, and she can, peep into it. So she tried to blind her to be like, okay, if I do that, then that kind of eliminates a lot of, that reality. So yeah, I just thought this movie was very interesting. Just, again, the rebellion force that you should be very sentimental of, that they orchestrate with the main character and his divine partner, you can say. And again, how they're just trying to make their own way, try to escape. Again, very similar to THX 1138. You can also say Running Man, in a sense, with Arnold as Ben Richards, with again the kind of divine connection with the masculine and feminine, and the order of things, and how that demiurge force is trying to govern and make a law for, I can't even talk anymore, but a lawful ruler on top of, this originality of things. You can say the soul, but the thing is, there's something more, a higher essence. That's the spark. It's the light, the and dark make, though. Shout out my boy Shangao. That's trying to escape this again, rigidity of things. And so that's what this movie, if you watch it, you'll see it. You'll see the Gnosis. The antinatalist element is obvious as fuck. Why would you put, this is the thing with relationships. I try to harp on it every now and then, but the world does that. You know what I mean? Like it kind of puts you in a place where you feel like you got to play a certain part to get something, especially for us men. You got to, be of a certain pedigree or this, that, the fourth, and then you'll get what you quote unquote want in terms of a significant other. But even a female, of course, it's just different perspectives. Females think they have to, look a certain way, act a certain way, this, that, the fourth, not too masculine. You know what I mean? It's just having to be forced to do certain things. And so it's fucked up. Any force, you know what I mean? That's why with the imposition, lack of consent, that's one of like the elements I just really hone into with any of this. It's like, nah, why would you impose such, so yeah, that is The Lobster. It's a good movie, definite good movie. Shout out to, again, Colin Farrell and the other cast members. So let's see. I wanted my boy Rita to be here. I'm not sure why he may not be, but this kind of ends a certain level. There's a few more that we have, and even there's still a couple more within this level. I haven't gone into Highlander, but I'm actually going to look to pause here because the cosmic nihilism and extinctionism elements, we haven't gotten to those certain movies with, I think it's pronounced Anariah. Then you got Alien Covenant, then the movie The Road, and I can't pronounce this movie, Melancholia. But I want to, because I went to a lot of different movies, and I always try to do things off the cuff to just see how the time goes and everything. But I really want to hone in on these points because it further gets within a certain structure. We talked initially when it came to THX, Dark City, Westworld, and Severance, The Dark Tower, Platform, Raised by Wolves. That kind of shows the picture with those initial ones that we went into with the cosmic false reality. And then when we went into the Children of Man, Attack on Titan, Running Man, Demolition Man, that was a lot of the control. When we talked about those different areas, the control element with Children of Men and that authoritarian regime, and Attack on Titan, that obviously with the Eldian government, let alone the Marlians, and how they had, spies with fucking Reiner and all them niggas that were trying to come in. Running Man with the media, the manipulation, Demolition Man with that Dr. Raymond, the authoritarian control with those movies and the Attack on Titan show. And then we talked a lot before, just a bit before, here ending with the psychological elements with the Synecdoche. We mentioned before with that character, with Caden being a, the psychological element of that show, because that show is very much so connected to us. There's not much sci-fi in this show. It's very mundane and existential. And then we just talked to the show Lobster, and both shows show a certain loss of romance element too. Because let me tell you, man, on a certain level, this is what I mentioned before with one of my videos, Antinatalism. If you don't agree per se, you don't understand that one video title, thumbnail, unconditional love. People say that, but like technically, it's in the term unconditional, unseen. Love is first that, the whole endarkment It's that. It's dark. It's not, you don't see something like love per se. It's abstract. You can't say, oh, that's love. There's all these different concepts of love. So it's a copy of a copy of a, you get my point? So what's actually, you can't describe it, right? It's nothing in a sense. You get my point? And so if you actually go back to that source of things, so yeah, these past couple movies with the Lobster and Synecdoche, New York, it's very much so in that, because romantics, that's why even the one movie, what was it, Demolition Man, when they were doing the one sex scene and they were not even physically with each other, my boy, oh my God, they got all this fucking things on their head. They're not even fucking, they're just sitting next to each other. They're not even, you know what I'm saying? Like, what? But it shows that things are mental, okay? You know, that's a certain esoteric underlining you can take from this scene, that when they were having sex. Because again, physically, yeah, we're here physically, we can, you know, get our rocks off clearly, but there's a certain level that you want to contain, you know, because when it comes to sex, we know, like, obviously you're going to spill your seed, conventionally speaking, but you don't want to do that. Again, with the untapped, you want to technically contain that. You know, we all have heard with semen retention and all that shit. There's a power with that, you know, and all that is, you can say, is investing within yourself, right? Not spilling into the world, right? Clear esoteric underlining teaching with that. You know what I mean? Yes, mental, and just continuing to hone into your mental abilities. And so that spirit semen that you encase within yourself, and you're not just giving it in, it's important. It's important. And so that psychological existentialism, I can't even say these terms anymore. Boy, oh boy. It's important. It's important to understand that psychic element of things. It's let me tell you, it is untapped. It's untapped in me. I'm trying to continue my spiritual prowess and investing in myself in that, you know. I'm not no better than any of you guys, but I'm looking to emphasize this to anyone that's listening to me, that's been like, oh, you know, I've appreciated listen mine. Well, I hope you peep the mythos, because I'm trying to say there's certain things within yourself. Again, with the free will, there's plenty of will within ourselves that we don't necessarily have tapped right now. You know what I mean? Because if you really had all the different abilities of what we really had, you wouldn't give a fuck about this free will concept. You know, there are many things that we could look to do that we don't necessarily have the capability right now. And that's in our own detriment. That's in, you know what I mean? Like, you got to have the willpower. Shout out to my boy, Erwin Smith from before, Commander Smith. You know, just please watch that video. I'm like, oh my God, please watch that video. Oh my gosh, the determination. You're gonna want to be like Erwin. You know, the dedication to the goal, to the cause that this man has. You know, I'm gonna rewatch that video probably sometime soon, because it was a great watch. Again, just knowing what you are here to do, you know what I mean, and sticking to that however best you can. And yes, like my boy Shanghai mentioned, that's all mental. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll look to do a part 2, and it's going to be much shorter. I went through a lot. I am a bit proud of myself for all the different movies and shit, because that was I was wanting to do everything, but that last one, because the last movies that I'm going to get into, we'll get into the I know you posted that on the, I'm going to post it definitely in the whatchamacall, you know, and the timestamps and everything. And that might be the pinned post, because that Erwin commander, we all got to be our own commanders, you know what I mean, in this bitch. But yeah, the next set of movies, and yeah, they're just movies for this last 4, because I'm probably just going to get into the last 4. There was a bit more with the Jujutsu Kaisen, Bleach. I haven't talked about the movie Highlander, but I might do that on a separate one. We'll see. But I really want to get into the last 4, because it represents the cosmic extinctionism. And so I really am looking forward to talking about those ones, because it sets the precedent of what will look to happen, right? So on that note, guys, I appreciate anyone still here after all that rambling. I was wanting to see if anyone was going to come on the call. I know I didn't share the post that much for the link to the StreamYard, but I did it a few times for anyone that was really trying to be about it. I know my boy Rita, I thought he was going to come up. I haven't even gotten to the alien, so he should look to likely come up to the next stream. because I told him the Alien movie was going to be one of the last ones because there was a certain structure that I wanted to go, and I hope I kind of conveyed it at the end, how that flowed. But yeah, we'll look to get into that cosmic nihilism, extinctionism with the last few movies. I might still look to touch up on Highlander, Jujutsu Kaisen. Honestly, I might get into Jujutsu. That might be a whole separate thing because that's one thing that's still currently right now season 3 going on. So I may wait until that season is done. I might just do that little bunch once the season's over. But yeah, we'll get back into peeping the mythos because this isn't just entertainment. You know what I mean? This is for way more than any of that. You know what I mean? This is to, while you are getting entertained, understanding, you know, the representation that's more, you know, than what they're just saying on a certain level. And so when you're able to, again, identify, peep that underlining element, you're going to see it more and more and more. Again, we're trying to unlock everybody's subconscious that's listening to this, and we'll hear it on the playback. That's what we need to do. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to any movie, any type thing, any TV, anything that it's not just me doing it for my own life. Like I'm peeping the mythos, even in my own life and what I'm doing directly for my own self, everything. So just be intentional with the awareness. You know, don't take your life fucking for granted and the different things that you're fucking sensing in your perception. Every fucking thing matters. Like I see the mythos in literally many different things in my everyday life, and it's fascinating. Appreciate everybody here on the call still. My boy Lone Richie, Shy said you should be proud. Appreciate it. Yeah, man. I shit. I appreciate it. I tried. And yeah, I'll further get honed in with the next ones because it won't be as much to only be a few, so easier to really hone in because the last one is really setting the ending, you know what I mean, with the cosmic extinctionism. That has to be the case, right? It's extinctionism, no other way. And that is all the same point that we've been mentioning. I said it before. Again, if you're an antinatalist, you're an extinctionist for your own lineage, right? So it's not just talking on that level, you're talking on all levels that you can, right? That you can mentally grasp, right? And so we're using these other terms to further hit that subconscious with that, you know? Chef was in the building. You funny, Low Richie. You funny. But yeah. So it's all leading to the same thing, leading to the highest level scale thereof. You know, any such possibility thereof. So yeah, guys, appreciate everybody here. And we'll be soon back at it, possibly next week or so. We'll soon get it up and finish it up here. And on that note, peace and chaos, everyone.